9:00 a.m. Would you please rise and join in the pledge of allegiance? Would you please, Commissioner?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Peck.
Here.
Commissioner Hood. Here. Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Okay. Do we have any additions or amendments to today's agenda as published?
Yes, I'd like to make an addition, and that's with regards to board appointments.
Okay. We're, that'd be under old and new business then?
Yes. And also have a question with regards to executive session. Do you want to leave that to the end?
What's your thoughts?
I would recommend doing that. I don't think we should take all these folks' time up while we're in executive session and come back in the regular session. It just makes more sense to me to do it at the end.
We do have people that are here for the executive session. That was, I have no problem with that. Okay, we're going to amend the agenda, and I think if you want to talk about board appointments, let's move that on our agenda above the planning and zoning appointments. And then we'll do the executive session at the end. Is that agreeable? Okay. Do we have amendments to be, minutes to be approved?
I would like to make a comment about the minutes that we got for January 20th. I would just like to compliment the thoroughness and the consistency of them. I thought they were very thorough, and they were very well done. And I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from the January 20th meeting.
I have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
There is a second to approve the minutes as stated.
All in favor say aye. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. This time it's customary, we have audience introductions so we can get your voice on our recorder. And let's start over here.
Jackie Bubis for the Sentinel.
Dan Bubis.
Amy Finger.
Gary Ziegler, Bear Basin Ranch.
Joan Hamilton.
Robert Hamilton.
Jordan Hedberg with the Tribune. Mike Shields.
Bill Donnelly. Dick Downey. Dick Barnes.
Skip Smithgrove.
Jackie Hobby, Planning and Zoning.
Pat Bailey.
Marvin Boyd.
Virginia Trujillo.
John Johnston.
And Sheriff Shannon Barr.
Morning.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to open it up for public comments from the audience. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and I'm taking off my Sentinel hat, putting on my citizen hat. Both of you new commissioners expressed an interest in streaming these meetings. And I thought maybe as a middle step you would consider putting the audio on the website. At this point, I don't know whether you know this, but a person has to come in and pay for that to get the audio. So I just thought maybe as an interim thing that might be good for the citizens to be able to listen to the meetings online, maybe download them from the internet. Thank you.
As a policy, and I realize we had some minutes released last week, but we don't release the minutes on the CD historically until after we've approved the minutes.
Not the minutes, the recording.
I'm talking about the recording, but we
Okay.
don't release the official CD recording until after we have approved the minutes. That's been the tradition. I don't know why, but that's what we've done
Oh,
in the past.
But
hasn't been the
I'm
case
not-
since I've been doing this. But
I'm not under, let's clarify what you're saying. You're saying in general, until we get to the video streaming, have some type of audio?
Yeah, just put the audio recording from the meeting so that people can listen to the whole meeting. Right now they have to come in during office hours and pay for that if they want to do that.
I would like to ask, I think that's a really very good idea, but I would like to ask Mr. Alito, the IT gentleman, what it would entail to do that, how much work it would take for him to take the recording and put it on, and before we approve this, which I think is a very reasonable suggestion, I would like to get just
Do
some
some
estimate on
research
what
on
it's
it.
going to take to get it done.
All right, as chairman, I suggest we make this an item for our next meeting on the 7th, and we'll get some more details at that time.
Thank you.
Let's ask Mr. Alito to come.
Is that agreeable?
That's fine, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Johnson?
First off, I'd like to compliment the board on the meeting on January the 20th, that it was an excellent meeting. I appreciate, Donna, that your offer, that you mentioned that you're donating your check back, and I'm assuming Mr. Prince is going to follow with something similar. The one thing that happened at the last meeting that I think you need to set either policy or protocol on, Donna, you had made mention that you wanted funds to go towards something at that meeting, not on what it was, it doesn't matter. I'm just wondering if that's not a policy or whatever that the board then has to put that on an agenda to approve it, since you're spending county money.
It's really my money coming out of my paycheck, so there's no approval needed.
It's a donation to the county.
So I donate it back to the county.
I just didn't know if there was protocol or procedure on that or not.
What you don't understand, Donna is receiving her paycheck, and then that money is, she's choosing to do with it as she pleases. Most of it or all of it will be used for county good.
That's fine.
The other issue, though, I think we need to bring to light, though, in this case, where this is a gift to the county, we don't go through any of the bidding processes or any of these things. If it is something we spend county money on, as our purchase policy, we require that we go out for bids, and we evaluate the bids and make a decision. Okay?
And just know that I am following suit because that is how I do purchasing, so I think I have 4 bids with regards to those computers as we speak.
Awesome.
Are there any other questions? So long. Okay, commissioner items. Commissioner.
I've been real busy. I've spoken with multiple organizations. We've been down to Canyon, the Upper Arkansas Workforce Commission. As you know, Mr. Chairman, obviously, we have an opening for a significant position in our midst, the road and bridge supervisor. And we spoke with some gentleman down there who, his name is Bill, who helps evaluate that. He is not a decision maker, just an evaluator. We sent to the resumes and the letters of intent for him just to look at it, so an independent set of eyes who has expertise in the workforce could come back and just kind of do a ranking as we plan on doing on our new position. So I've been real busy with county stuff and just moving along.
Okay, for the bring the rest of you up to date, we have a workforce that offices in Canyon City. They basically cover the Upper Arkansas area. Bill's, I want to say Sessions, but that's not quite it. I worked with him for the last 2 years, and working with him, we were able to secure a workforce website up here at the library. Anytime we have any openings, we can post them on their site if they want to. And then they're also, as part of the services, they offer the service to go through and just do a ranking. As an example, let's say we had, position Y, and we put it out there and we have 20 applicants to it. If we want to, they'll go through and identify the top 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever we ask them to do, but they will basically rank them. And then in our case, and I'm assuming, I'm not going to talk to my 2 colleagues, but I'm assuming at this point, when he completes the ranking, we'll look at it, but it will certainly, at least in my case, will not have a major impact on what my decision is. It's just another idea. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely agree with that, and he made it very clear that he just would be another set of eyes to give us some more.
But I worked with Bill for 2 years, and he's worked hard to get some things up here. We didn't have a workforce location up here before. You had to go to Canyon. And now, for anyone that's interested, we do have a location in the library, in their meeting room, where you can go in and look on computers and see what jobs are listed in the area. We're hoping that will facilitate employment for some of our citizens that may be able to find employment around the area. Anything else?
That's good for me.
Commissioner Hood?
Okay, I was also in attendance at the workforce COG meeting, and we're actually going to host them. They have a quarterly meeting, so they're coming up to Custer County towards the end of April. So we'll keep you abreast of time and location for that. I met on Friday with our SEDS group, and we spent the bulk of the time reviewing the strategic plan that actually went online this past Monday, yesterday. Now, the county has its own strategic plan that I'm reviewing, but I made several recommendations to change what was presented last Friday so that we will be in compliance. And that's a working document. It's actually a live document. It's supposed to be good for 5 years. So as things change in our county, we want to make sure that we update that. So I'm going to update that. There are a few things I have to get to them by this Friday. I also met with our Custer County Fair Board, and they're going through a little bit of a transition. They actually combined their sales committee as part of their board. So they need to change their bylaws. So I asked them that be a priority, so they're going to review their bylaws and change that. There was a bit of concern in that our board made appointments without going through the Fair Board, and I strongly pointed out that they don't currently have a meeting in December, which is where all the letters come through to present. So they need to look at their timeline and their bylaws with all that. And pretty much, that's it.
Anything else? Okay. On the 23rd, we attended a meeting in Wetmore with the construction group and the Wetmore advisory people, and went through the Wetmore Community Center and Library, got an update on it. One change that I was not aware of that hadn't been communicated is that we've added another bathroom down there, which is required a handicapped accessible bathroom in the basement. But the construction change was made. They've got the framing up. They're moving right along. I thought, quite frankly, that they're doing a good job and they're on schedule. Do either of you Wetmore folks have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to add, it looked like they're about a month out of schedule according to the plan, so they're hoping that it gets done the end of February.
Right, but in terms of the major stuff, we're still moving along, and we're not 6 months behind schedule, and it's not unusual to be 30 days off of that
But
schedule.
just to make everybody aware.
And for your general information, Donna is a bit of a bulldog on construction. She's had experience in a number of buildings that they've built, and she had a lot of very precise and concise questions to ask them, including electrical panels and a whole bunch of these things. So I feel with Jay down there and so forth, I think we're going to go ahead just like we said we would, and it's going to come to fruition. We don't know when we're going to open. They thought it would be done sometime the end of February. One of the things that we want to do when we have our opening, John Naylor, as you know, is retired as our county attorney. We want to have a special day for John, and we're going to host it in the Wetmore Community Center. John can't come to this elevation with his oxygen. It's very difficult for him. So as part of our grand opening festivities, that's something that we want to do and recognize John's 40-plus years of service to our county. The next thing I went to on Tuesday was the annual operating plan of Division of Fire Prevention and Control. This is the state group that when we have a fire, the sheriff takes control first, and then we pass it on to the state, and this is the group we pass it on to, and then they in turn pass it on to the federals. I think we've got a good operating plan. There were not many changes in it. A few odds and ends, and that'll be presented to us for approval. But I think it was a very useful meeting. We had a good turnout of our people there, the sheriff, the fire chief, and a number of folks, so I think it was a good meeting. On the 25th, which was Wednesday, I also attended the CART meeting. We were there maybe 30 minutes visiting, the three of us, with the people doing the assessment for CART. On the 26th, we had the Middle Arkansas Wildfire Prevention Partnership, which is Fremont, Custer, and Jumbo counties. We met over here at the fire station, and we spent a long day, but we got, again, working with fire control issues, trying to see how we're going to get money, and all of these things. Was a very useful meeting. Yesterday, I spent from about 9 o'clock yesterday morning to 4:30 in Wetmore with a fire recovery meeting. We have a group that's leading this funding for us to try to do some things. Bill, where are you, Bill? Bill was at that meeting. If I leave something out, Bill, well, you add to it if you would, please. But what we did basically was toured the east end of the fire, identified some areas of concern, and then we went back and discussed those areas of concern in a fair amount of detail. Very briefly, 2 or 3 areas that we're concerned about. One is on the state highway on Hardscrabble, North Hardscrabble. If you look at the map, we do have a fair amount of burn that occurred in Junkins Park and up towards Mountain Meadows Ranch. That's going to come down to McKenzie Junction and then down North Hardscrabble. 2 or 3 areas that we are a little concerned about. First of all, when that road was built in 1961, they channeled a creek on the south side of the road. The creek used to cross at about mile marker 20, I think, just as you come around the point of the hill there. And the creek went across the road and went down on the north side of the road. And then just above the gravel pit, the old gravel pit, the lookout point, it come back across the road. There's some areas there, there's some, just below there, some beaver dams, and we're concerned that if we have much water come down there, and we'll be working with the highway department, but we're concerned that that could be a possible area of damage, could result in road closure. The other ones we looked at, we went up on the North Creek Road, and they'll do the south end of the North Creek Road when they do Beulah. They're going from here over to Beulah. But from there, coming this way, coming to the north, we identified a culvert structure that's, an old bridge, an old culvert structure that is potentially at risk. We come down to the bottom of the draw where the creeks come together and the bridge on North Creek Road goes across South Hardscrabble. Looking at trying potentially to put some retention ponds or something in there. It would be on Bill's place. And again, these are all just items. We've done no ranking. We just tried to identify at this time. And up above on South Hardscrabble, about the Forest Service line or so, we've looked also at some mitigation they might do. This would have to be between the Forest Service and the state people. One of the things they wanted, they put in a structure, a retention pond, then they wanted the county to clean it. And I was not really in favor of that. We've got enough expenses already. I think it was on Forest Service lands. It's Forest Service responsibility to clean it, not our county ones. And then coming on down, I guess the next one, Bill, was in Greenwood, where we looked at some of the bridges. We have some concerns there. There's one bridge, and I think they call it the California House, but a really nice home, that the creek is, the bridge is actually higher, I think, than the road on either side of it. And that potentially is a house that could be classified, I mean, we're thinking, we haven't done it, but could be classified as a high-risk area. We looked at the bridge down there that goes across there, but Withers. There's 2 big pipes in there. They're 7-foot pipes, but the bridge is going to be a problem. And then we come on down and went through Wetmore, and we found some of the same issues. Probably the biggest issues in Wetmore that we identified, which I hadn't thought of, are all the wells that are along the creek. And if we get a high flow down there, a lot of those wells are going to be underwater. So one of the things that they suggested we might consider is taking sandbags, and if you can visualize an eye with one point of the eye upstream and the other one downstream, and the well being the center of the eye. Sandbagging those up 3 or 4 feet or so, trying to keep we'll probably have some seepies, but trying to keep the current where we can split it to come around those wells. But we've got probably, what do you suppose, Bill, 10, 12 wells down there
At least,
that are at risk.
only place you can get water's in the creek bottom, so that's where the wells are.
So that's an issue that I think we again, we have to address. We've also, we went down by the community center and looked, and we feel we need to have mitigation on the creek. There's a lot of downfall, there's a lot of trees and stuff in there, that if we can work with the homeowners and get that cleaned out, that it can improve the flow down through the creek and not result in debris dams. Some of those areas, we get a debris dam, potentially it can go across the road, it can run right down the road. It can flood those homes that are alongside the creek bed. And that basically, I think, was what we did yesterday. Bill, did I forget anything?
No, that's a good overview.
I think that was it. Then they sat down and we spent the afternoon writing up a bunch of this stuff. Today they're continuing. I think today they're going to come up here to the east, to the west end of the fire. Looking at that, I don't see a lot that they can do up there. We don't have, to my knowledge, I don't think we have any structures at risk along the Junkers Park Creek. We do have some bridges that are going to be an issue. But then again, we look at what we can do in terms of mitigating those and so forth. We have to look at where our dollar is going to be spent. And quite frankly, I would much rather sacrifice a bridge in Hardscrabble than I would a home or a well in Wetmore. So that's kind of where we are. They'll continue this week, and I think they'll be back a day or two next week. But we'll let you folks know what the update is. Are there any questions on that? We're also have talked. Cindy Howard is leading the effort on this, the wildfire part of it from her Office of Emergency Management. And I need to talk to my colleagues, but I think something we might want to consider is actually appointing a committee that has 3 or 4 Wetmore people on it to help us coordinate along the creek bottom down there. In other words, I think it's important we have that local input into our process. And that, I guess, is a quick update on what my activities have been. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay. We'll move on to attorney items. Clint.
I would like to go ahead and schedule a workshop so we can try to get a marijuana ordinance drafted. We have Jackie here and the sheriff. Is Shannon still here? Did he step out again?
Shannon left.
Okay. Well, we need Jackie and Shannon present for that, but I'd like to schedule a workshop for some time in the middle of February or toward the end of February where we can sit down and go over this and try to get an ordinance drafted that is acceptable.
Seems to me like we had a communication from Shannon regarding that, didn't we?
Yes, he sent an email wanting something done, and I responded to him saying that I was going to bring it up and try to get a workshop scheduled. So I don't know what your schedules are, but I mean sometime the week of the 13th, February 13th, maybe 15, 16, somewhere in there.
I'm open on the 13th if you would like to do it then, but I can look at the
Donna,
days.
will that work for you?
After 1 o'clock, I can.
It would be start at 1 or 1:30 would be my suggestion. And
February 13th at 1 p.m.
okay, and
Is that what you want, 1 or 1:30?
If you could do 1:30.
1:30 is fine. Maybe a couple of hours at the most on this, just to get certainly sure where we're heading on it. But, Brenda, will you be sure to check with the sheriff and make sure that he can be available?
Yeah, if you would reconsider, Counselor, we did it on the 14th, it'd be Valentine's Day.
We're gonna have to bring candy in.
Okay, any other items for us?
I have a couple of other things. At our last meeting, the board had received a request from Jordan Hedberg from the Wet Mountain Tribune, asking certain questions about the procedure that was followed in choosing which newspaper would be publishing the legal notices for 2017. The board authorized me to send a letter responding to the questions that were asked, and I have a note from Mr. Hedberg today that I just opened when I got here. And it says, "I have received your timely reply to my requests. I am satisfied with your legal opinions on the matter. As I see no clear violation of the law, I will take no further action at the present time. Please pass along this note to the other members of the BOCC. Respectfully, Jordan Hedberg." So,
Thank you,
Jordan
Jordan.
is here, yes, thank you, Jordan.
As another item right with this is that we have had a freedom of information request regarding this,
Right.
and this has been responded to.
Yes, there was not anything that was confidential about the request or the response, so that's been made available.
And is it responding to the party requested this? Are they comfortable with the response? You know?
It was requested for the Sentinel, and we gave them everything we had, the email
Okay.
that we got and the letter that we wrote in response.
Excellent.
And I guess one other thing, and this is going to be strictly procedural, not any substance, but regarding the lawsuit that's been going on for a long time, where the county is involved. The plaintiff is Las Majadas, the defendants are Custer County, and Michael and Laura Halpin. Back in December, this board authorized me to file a motion to dismiss the county from that lawsuit on the grounds that the county believed that all the issues relating to the county had been resolved by the appeal. I filed that. The attorney for the Halpins agreed not to oppose it. There was not a response from the attorney for Las Majadas. On last Friday, I got a response from the attorney for Las Majadas, and I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to talk about this unless we're in executive session. But the procedure for motions, there's a motion, there's a response, and then if I want to, I can file a reply. I have the reply prepared, and I was planning on getting it filed this afternoon, electronically filed. And then we wait for the judge to either rule on the basis of the motion and the response and the reply, or the judge could have the option of actually setting it for a hearing to have oral argument on it. But that's the status of it. And that's as far as I want to go unless we were talking about it.
And today, during our executive session, we will be addressing some of the legal issues, and we have parties that are here to visit with us.
Well, and I was sort of made aware of that. I talked to Mr. Halpin's attorney on Friday, and he had said that there was something like that in the works. I have to tell you that I cannot participate in that. It would be a very serious ethical violation for me. So if you are wanting to do that in an executive session, then I would have to excuse myself.
And this was a request to see if we can reach an agreement today. Do you know if Mike's going to be available today?
I saw Mike and I talked to him, and his attorney had told me that he was advising Mike not to participate without his attorney being present, and I assume that's still...
We'll see if we when we get to executive
But
session.
I guess if that's what you want to do, I would like to address the board privately in executive session first, and then if you still want to discuss this with one of the parties, I will have to step out. But I'd like to let you know where we're at. Okay, that's all I have for right now then.
Okay.
I'm going to ask Clint that after that you step back in on a personnel issue.
We do have some personnel issues, and that we'll have to have an executive session on a legal matter without recording it, of course, and then have a separate executive session on some personnel issues.
You recommend that we adjourn the first legal matter session and reconvene in a personnel session?
Yes, and I asked Donna Hobby to be present for the personnel issues.
Good. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. This time, we'll move into the executive session. We postponed early in the meeting until the end of the meeting. And we'll move into the new and old business at this time. The first item we have is a review of the vouchers. We've received these electronically. Have you had a chance to review them, either one of you,
I
or
did.
thoughts that you have, or?
I did, and my question was asked by Donna this morning.
So you have no?
I'm okay.
do you-
I'm fine with it.
In the past, what we've done is we pass this, you've seen us pass these sheets back and forth and initial them through our meeting. Now, what we're trying to do, and to have more time to look at them and ask questions, is that we receive them the day before electronically. And we've all looked at these and can go forward. I had one question on an attorney bill from Human Services, and it is with Donna, and I understand what the procedure is on that one. So at this time, I would accept a motion that we pay the vouchers.
I move that the vouchers that were submitted electronically to us yesterday be approved for payment.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? I went through them both electronically and this morning went through them physically. I see nothing that jumps out at me. Therefore, I will call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Brenda, would you call Donna and let her know that we passed them? For those of you that aren't here all the time, one of the pleasures we have today is a stack of checks about that high that we have to sign. And Donna can't start to print the checks until we approve the vouchers. So that was the reason for doing it this way. All right, Virginia, are you here?
She had to go back to her office.
Okay, do you want to see if,
Sure, I'll run. Do you want me to get her?
yeah, please.
Yes. Just go tell her she can sit there.
Yes, ma'am, you're on the program.
Okay, I'd like to transfer $40,000 from lieu of tax to county general to pay the bills.
I needed to hear that part. I'll make the motion to accept the request from our treasurer of transferring $40,000 from the lieu of tax to the county general to cover expenses for January.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
What if we don't approve it?
All in
I can't have
favor?
a negative balance.
All in
You'll
favor
have to
say aye.
visit me in
Aye.
prison.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. This may be a time to discuss this. You're going to see in our budget on the Wetmore Community Building, you're going to see some rather large deficits. And what this is that we had all those money approved in last year's budget in the capital improvement fund. They weren't expended at that time. We're spending them now. And then when the accountants go through and do our audit, then they move those dates from now back to the December, so they come out of last year's budget. And at that time, we'll show that we're not in the negative. But if any of you see that, don't panic. I visited with Donna this morning because I was concerned about it from a cash flow standpoint and so forth. But did I phrase that?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, that's what they do. They always do adjustments. We always get a big sheet of adjustments.
So if you see that, don't give us a holler. That's the reason it's going to be that way. Anything else for us?
No, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, Donna, I'll put, you wanted to talk about board appointments?
Yes. Since our last meeting, we have received 2 letters, one from Robin Young in the Extension Office requesting that Ashley Gillum be appointed to the Extension Advisory Board as the 4A youth representative. We actually had the original Grace Walking approved, and she made a request to resign. So this is to appoint this young gal as the 4-H extension youth person. That's one. Can do this in the same motion. The second is from the Fair Board, from President Diane Rose, noting that they would like to have Deborah Fisher on the Fair Board. She was originally not included on the sales committee list.
Just note, I would like to take the extension board an item and approve that one, and then that would keep them all separate. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept Ashley Gillum as the youth 4-H representative.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, now the Fair Board.
Fair Board is to accept Deborah Fisher coming on to the Fair Board as the second motion.
Do I hear a motion to appoint Deborah Fisher to the Fair Board?
I need a motion.
Oh, a second, I'm sorry.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Deborah Fisher. All in favor, discussion?
Just a question, that's not going to exceed the limit in their bylaws or anything on how many people they have? Okay, that's all I have.
No other discussion, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item.
That's all I have.
That's what you have, okay. All right, at this time, we're going to move into the Planning and Zoning Board appointments. And I would like to ask a couple of you, maybe Vic and Jackie, maybe to join us up here as we go through this. Maybe you had some discussions of points you wanted to raise. If you feel comfortable that way,
You can have the chair, I'll stand.
bring your chair with you.
Oh, okay.
Good to see you.
Good morning. Hello, Vic.
Very nice to see you again.
Yeah, I clipped it.
You're such a gentleman. Are you single? Thank you. Oh,
You're not.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Oh, no, this one's comfy. Would you like this one?
Okay, I guess, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with what we perceive as how this is done? And then we'll have a discussion from there, or how would you like to start this?
Well, I got to check a number just to
If I remember, you have an individual that was a question whether we were going to approve that person to be on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Is that correct? I believe his name is Keith Hood.
Yes, and his cousin.
Is Mr. Hood here?
Yes.
He's in the back.
Mr. Hood, raise your hand, please.
We have a, this is from Clint, and let me look here. We have a legal opinion.
I thought I saw it when we were going through there the first time.
This is it, right?
The memo that I sent to the board.
You are with Bob?
I want to find mine here, I don't have it.
Just while we're waiting, I did take note on your policy and procedure that was submitted to us by Clint, saying that the letters of intent must be in the Custer County Planning and Zoning Office by the close of business on the last day of December. That's kind of running into the same issue the Fair Board had. Is there any way you could change that so it might be done in November, so that we get it in December to review?
That's no problem to us. You know, I think what this all started out was, we had two different offices doing the same thing and not on the same page. For as long as I've been in the planning and zoning office, we have taken the letters of intent. And in November, I have emails reflecting asking the seated board members if they would like to have their seats back. Because that's what we usually do, is we ask them, do you want the seat back? And then if they don't, then we ask the associate members or alternatives if they would like to have a seated position. Because we made those rules because we were finding that you could remain an associate member and never be moved up. I call it always a bridesmaid, never a bride. And so we decided, and in our zoning regs, the resolution isn't match for match in the zoning resolution. But it basically lays out what we do. So I guess I was a little stunned to find out that the letters were being sent to my office plus being sent to Brenda. So there was some miscommunication there, and I thought, well, we have a resolution, plus in our zoning regs, we state how we do things. And so I guess I was a little stunned to see a seated member that had been here since '97, who has on-the-spot knowledge about water. He's on Upper Arkansas. He has history. He has history in this valley. He represents the agricultural department, not be appointed.
You're speaking of Mr. Hood, right?
And I'm speaking of Mr. Hood. Then I was told that his letter did not make it in here, that you did not see a letter.
And you're exactly right. We got those on the 3rd of January.
So see, I was still doing what the regs say. I was still following the regs.
I think we can fix that fairly simply. I think as a Board of Commissioners, we need to go back and visit that resolution and make it clear that they can come to us as we do the rest of them. I don't think that the planning and zoning needs to be an outlier. I don't think it'll cause any problems. I'm just suggesting as we go to the future, that's one way to look at it. Because planning and zoning board as an extension of the Board of County Commissioners, right?
We're advisory.
Right.
Really advisory.
And as we go through policy is how we request board appointments, request board nominations. It should be standard across our county. You're right, Jackie, we didn't receive the letter, and I didn't know that existed in the language that you showed me. I certainly appreciate that. I think we need to visit some things here and see where we're going. Would you like to continue on?
Yeah, I have no problem, just as long as one person is responsible for the letters. But I do have another issue is, I think that we do have, consideration for the chairman and who's in those meetings and myself all the time to say, hey, this person applied, they have no idea how the zoning works. They need to become, and we need to look at the whole thing. So, if you take the letters, that's a great idea. Just one person needs to start taking these letters, so.
Well, that's what we did with everybody but you.
No, there's confusion.
Okay.
And the previous administration put out a public notice to the public. That's why letters came directly here and not through the boards that they should have for review. So it was how that was communicated.
Okay, and I have a comment about that also, because in the previous ad, I was told by the previous administrator of the job that it stated on the bottom of that ad, please submit your letters to the appropriate office, which meant Robin's office and the planning and zoning office. The reason why we used to do our own ad. The planning and zoning office did their own ad in the Tribune and say wanted planning and zoning and associate and board of zoning adjustment. But then it was coming out of my budget, and so one day the commissioners say, hey, we're doing an ad, why don't we just tag you along with the ad, and then we'll take it out of our budget to do the ad. So that's where you start seeing the last 2 years the commissioners doing the ad. I have no problem, I just think that we all need to be on the same page.
And I think it's a matter of timing. So I'm going to request that in the November meetings, when you do your reports here, that we bring that up for discussion so we're all on the same page, because Fair Board had the same issue.
I agree with what Donna said, and I was just going to say the same thing basically, is that it sounds like there's miscommunication, that there's confusion as to what the policy is and the procedure should be. And I think going forward, we need to establish a policy that we all agree with on how we're going to handle this in the future, so that this confusion doesn't come again. And I recognize there's a lot of things that go on, confusion occurs, but if we have a set procedure that we all agree with, we sit down and talk about it, figure out how we're going to do this to make it work efficiently, that just makes good sense to me, because I don't want to have this conversation again in a year from now.
No, and I don't want the confusion.
Right. Exactly.
It's been going on for a month of confusion.
We can fix this.
And the whole section of 4.5 lays out the rules,
If we
you
need
know.
to change it,
We'll
let's
change
make
it.
the change so that
But
we're
let's-
all on the same board and we know where we're going. I'm with
I would
you.
like to ask some questions. Tell me who had not been at the meetings when you didn't have a quorum?
Well, it varied.
Well, I don't care. I want to know if they're not making the meetings, I want to know who on the board wasn't making the meetings.
I think I'll refer that to Vic.
Well, I can recall twice when, this past year, when we had, do you remember anymore than that? When we didn't have a quorum. And that means that there was probably three. I think there were 3 or 4 members that were absent. I can't remember exactly who they were. We can go back and.
Does this show in your minutes?
Yes, it'd be in the minutes, yes.
Could you go get those photos, please?
They're online. I can get them on.
The reason where I'm going with this is that we have, what, 8 people? You have 5 on the board, isn't it?
No, we have
There's
7 seated on the planning commission.
7, and then you got 3, so you got 10 people on the alternates. Including the alternates, you have 10 people, and you couldn't get 5 to a meeting. That's a fair
correct.
statement?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and I would like to know who those were that were not at the meeting.
Yeah, I can't tell you offhand, but all I know is that I think both of those were, one was a replat, the other one I can't recall, but one of them we were able to get together. Pat Beatty was with us, and we decided, and we checked with the resolution, and we resolved it because it was something that Jackie could handle administratively. The other one, I can't recall. I think we had the applicants come back, as I recall, but my interest here is to make sure that this doesn't happen again, because these people, they expect there to be people there to make a decision. Some of them come from out of
Exactly right. That's
and I just don't
what
want that to happen.
Can you, for the benefit of my 2 colleagues, can you walk us through your procedure for each of these and how they come to the planning and zoning and how they're handled?
Well, normally, if somebody wants to, has an application for, and there's a number of different applications that come in, they'll go to Jackie, and then she'll usually call me up, and we'll talk about it, and then we'll have what we call a pre-zoning conference. And the applicants will come in, and Jackie and I will talk to them and go through their application and make sure it's correct, and tell them the procedure that we have to go through. And of course, that's going to vary.
So we have a pre-zoning conference with
Yes.
you, Jackie,
And the applicant, yes.
Okay, do the open meeting laws apply to this pre-zoning conference?
No.
Okay, go on.
And then it's going to depend on what kind of an issue it is, but then after that, say it's, what would be a good example? Maybe a special use permit. Well, then we'll tell them that they have to show up for a presentation before the planning commission, and then a month later, normally there'll be a hearing, and then we tell them that after that, then.
And then the planning, when they show up before the planning commission, that's an open,
That's a what now, Bob?
that's an open meeting?
That's an open meeting. Oh, both of them are open meetings.
Well, but the pre-zoning conference is,
No.
okay. Go ahead.
And then we have the presentation, which is an open meeting, and then we have the hearing, which is an open meeting. That's when the planning commission votes, and that's when they come up with the recommendation that we send to you, and then you it used to often happen right at the same meeting, we'd have joint meetings, but the previous administration, I think you were there then, decided not to do that. So then we'll give that to you, and then sometime later you will schedule the decision. We give the advice, your recommendation, the advisory aspect of it, and then you make the decision.
Do you ever bring up issues as a planning and zoning commission on your own?
We have, for example, and this is a good example here, and Jay just mentioned it, where we have some problems with the zoning resolution that are not clear. And what we try to do whenever issues can't come up, whether they be, in the past, they've been home occupation, there's been a couple other things, and I can look them up.
That's all right.
But then what we'll do is, then we'll decide whether or not we need to have a workshop with the planning commission to see how we want to take a look at the zoning resolution. The zoning resolution, when we make amendments to it, then we usually want to wait until we have a few things to do. We don't want to be amending it every month or so. And so we'll try to get at least a couple of different items taken care of, and then we will schedule a workshop, and then after that we'll have a public meeting, and then depending on what response we get, then the zoning resolution will be amended.
Do you guys ever get together as committee members and talk about these issues beforehand?
No. Well, we can't because of sunshine law.
Correct.
The reason I'm asking, I heard in a social setting a discussion about needing to control broadband towers. That was in a social setting, it wasn't in a meeting setting. It was between two members of the board.
Was I one of those?
It was up at a Christmas party.
Two members wouldn't be the quorum.
That's
That's
right.
the
No,
problem.
but I'm asking, we have individual members talking among, I asked them if they talked among themselves, and they said they didn't.
Well, okay, two of us, yeah, there's no question about that, but we're well aware of the sunshine law, so, yeah, I've talked with Jackie about the towers. I don't recall that discussion at the party, but,
It was you and Lockett, and I walked
Okay.
up to you and talked to you.
okay, all right, yeah. So, yeah, we have done that, yeah.
So you will bring up issues on your own then that you think need to be addressed and discussed? I'm just asking, I mean,
Yes.
I have no problem with that.
No,
I'm
no,
just asking.
I understand, yeah, I have,
I would
yeah,
hope you would do that.
yeah.
And I have a question. It's in regard to the workshop that you're requesting. Should we have planning and zoning if it's in ordinance?
Well, that's what Jack can be here for. But certainly if it can be, or planning and zoning can be involved, because it's going to impact planning and zoning, there would be a lot of the marijuana regulations would be probably going through her office initially.
I was just saying, you just walked in, if you should be part of the workshop, the clinics, with regards to the marijuana ordinance.
Yeah, and I'm ready. I already have the ordinance marked up. I think the reason is it comes to, it's been going through the office, but I think you better.
Well, the question was whether planning should be involved in the workshop. Yeah, it's an open workshop, and if
They can
somebody-
show up if they want, but it's usually just going through my office. It doesn't go through the planning commission.
Okay.
I think it'd be good. Who do we have?
Okay, so we're gonna go through the PC first. Pat Bailey, Chris Nordike, Bill Donnelly, and Lance
Well,
Ingram,
These are the ones that were there, or what?
absent.
We had Pat, Lance,
Chris and Bill.
okay.
And Lance is an associate.
Is it all,
Mhm.
Can I interject to ask a question at this point? What type of meeting was it that they didn't come to? Do you feel that they should have been there if there was not an extenuating circumstance? We don't know if they were sick, family emergency, I mean, we don't know why they weren't there, they just weren't there. But was it the type of meeting that a normal member would have felt that they should have been at?
Yes. And
Okay.
sometimes, when we have the flu going around, we appreciate you not showing up.
And I absolutely agree with that, that's why I prefaced what I said.
This is a regularly scheduled, and
you
they're,
need 5 for quorum, right?
Or
Four, four.
Seven, four.
7 members.
So we have 7 on the board,
Yes, I'm on the board.
3 alternates, which is
Yes.
10.
Right.
You just gave me 4 people that weren't there, so that meant you should have had 6 people at that meeting.
Yeah, we were fine at that meeting.
I thought you said you didn't have.
No. He said there was 2 meetings that we didn't have a quorum.
And this wasn't,
This was not one of them.
No,
It's not,
you
'cause these
asked,
were the
no,
same.
I'm just asking, okay, go ahead. I'm
You
sorry, I
asked
thought you
for-
were talking about the 2 we didn't have a quorum.
no,
You went beyond what I asked,
you asked me who's been absent.
okay?
Okay, and then March was Chris and Bill, Chris Nordyke and Bill Donnelly. And then in April was Chris Nordyke, Pat Bailey, and Mike Shields. And then May was Mike Shields.
So, if I can, Mr. Chairman, Chris has missed all of the ones you're discussing right now, is that correct?
Chris was ill.
Oh, okay, that's where I was going, I was gonna ask that question. Okay, so we feel that was probably an excused absence rather than just a lack of interest?
Correct. I feel, at the beginning, we used to tell you that if you didn't show up, that it was cause for termination. They also will, we have implemented sending out an email, a courtesy email to remind everyone, and then they email back and say, I can't make it. And if a couple of them say I can't make the meeting, then I urge all the other members to please try to show up.
Good plan. Good way to
Well,
handle it.
Jackie and I talked about it because, like I said to you, you commissioners, we don't want to do this again. And so, Jackie, we started sending out reminders to both the associates and the seated members. And then, depending on the responses, then Jackie or I will call individuals just to see whether they're going to show up or not.
In April, you had Chris and who again?
Pat and Mike.
Okay. And then when was your next meeting?
Yeah, May was just an associate member, Mike.
May, you had, everybody was there, okay. And other meetings since then?
No.
Do you not have any meetings?
I'm sorry. I apologize.
The planning commission had 4 regularly scheduled meetings last year, and the BZA has had 2, February and then November.
No, any scheduled at the moment?
No, I'm waiting for a board.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, and in waiting for the board, what are we lacking at this point?
Okay, I'm gonna back up just for a minute.
Sure.
Okay, so when the commissioners make their decision, then I usually do a letter and I bring it in for all the commissioners to sign of who got appointed and who didn't get appointment. Because there's 2 letters, one for the BZA and one for the PC. There's one on getting appointed and sorry, you please try again. Also, I send out with them a little sheet that asks for their email address and their address. And then I ask them a question, do you want this to be public knowledge? And we do a book for everyone, the rules on how you, just the basic rules, the calendar and everything like that. So I guess what I'd like to do is, what was the question?
The original question was, do you have a meeting set? The answer, if I remember correctly, I don't like to work your mouth, was not yet because we don't have a board. And I said, what do we need to do to get that?
Okay, so, we have, by state statute, you can have 9 planning commission members.
3 to 9.
3 to 9. We usually have about 7. Had it for years, not saying that that's right or wrong, just saying 7. I think there was a lot of miscommunication that happened, and I would like you to put Keith Hood back on that board. I feel that as a planning commission, they are like they help the commissioners a lot with decisions, And I think that putting Keith back on the board for his on-the-spot knowledge would be very beneficial.
If he is back on the board, would that then fill your commitment for the board?
Yes, because if you would make the motion to put the other two people on the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
Before we go into the appointments, I'd like to talk about some more stuff in general. And I'm not picking, I'm asking, but I see that Pat and Bill missed 2 of your 4 meetings. How come?
I think one of them was, Bill was in the fire. I don't know the fire date.
We didn't have the fire before May.
Okay, so I don't know, you'd have to ask Bill. I'd have to run my emails. Most of the time,
The reason I'm asking is that if people don't come to the meetings, have an opportunity to replace them if they didn't attend. I don't want to replace these 2, but I'm curious why we have 2 people.
Usually they have a ranch.
That missed, okay, but they.
Okay, usually,
Let me finish, please.
okay.
Usually, when you make a call, they're on there because they can serve. If they miss one, I got this, I got that, that's fine. But if we miss, you had 4 meetings, and here's 2 people who missed half of them. I can just say it was only 2 meetings out of the year, or they missed half the meetings that you had. And I'm wondering, you mentioned in there that if you don't have participation, that you do something. I'm just asking, I'm trying to.
Comment, please.
Bill's got, Bill, back there, let's ask Bill.
In my case, my wife had just been diagnosed with lung cancer and she was undergoing treatment.
That's all I need, Bill, that's good. That's a medical reason, and it's very cool. Pat, you were busy with this swamp.
Don't know. But obviously, I mean, I keep in contact with Jackie and Vic all the time. So what we try to do as a board is if there is a problem or an issue with somebody not being there, myself, whoever it is, we want to make sure we have a quorum that doesn't happen. And if the associates show up, that's what they're supposed to stand in if someone can't be there.
I'm
So,
comfortable with that, that's fine. Now, you had a couple meetings you didn't have a quorum at, and what were those dates?
I did not, I couldn't see them in my minutes.
Well, one of them, they wouldn't be in there because remember we got together, you and I and Pat got together, and we went back to the resolution, and we decided this is something that by the resolution, we could do administratively.
And there wouldn't be no minutes reflected.
There would be no, and I can't recall the
There
other
was
one.
one
So if you
time,
call a meeting and you don't have a quorum, you don't record that you called the meeting? You
we
just-
never called the meeting. This was, before we called the meeting, it came out that this was a non-issue as far as the planning commission. That was the only thing that was on there, so we didn't have to, they didn't get,
So you didn't officially schedule a meeting date then?
it was
We did for
scheduled.
Jackie to meet with the applicants in her
That
office.
would
so
be
she
in your
could handle
pre-zoning
the
conference or whatever. Yeah,
Well,
okay.
this was after the pre-zoning, we already had the pre-zoning, and then this was a scheduled meeting. And then beforehand, we did not have a number of people to conduct business. And then we got together, I think it was you and I and Jackie, wasn't it, if I recall? And then we checked the zoning resolution, and we said, this is something that says in here that we can do administratively. So we just thanked the people for being there and told them
That
to meet
takes
with
care
Jack,
of
zoning office.
That's not an issue. Because I know a time or two Jackie reported to us, the Board of Commissioners, that they didn't have a quorum for a meeting.
So there was one other time that I
That's where I'm
recall.
going back.
But
No, I understand.
and, yeah, and I guess I'm reluctant to, let's just say that every one of my absences that the board has emailed me about was a personal issue that I don't feel needs to be out there, but I'm comfortable with. Vic was comfortable with it, and it violates some of the
Don't go there.
HIPAA.
Yeah, my only concern was, in asking these questions, and I think, and I'm not to speak for Bob, but what I think I understand for him also is, we're concerned about, is this a lack of caring to show up a laissez-faire type attitude on your board, or do people have a life that precluded them from coming to the meetings? If they're dedicated to the board and the county, and they want to do a good job, unfortunately, couldn't make it for whatever reason. I heard a couple of reasons today.
That's fine.
I fully understand that, and that's fine. My only concern is, and I think you said to me already this morning, if you have someone who has, I'm on the planning and zoning or whatever the board is, but I don't come to the meetings, I really don't care very much about it, you will take that action and do something about that. That's what I'm hearing this morning. Is that correct?
That is very correct.
That's all I care about.
And there's no problem with lack of interest on, we've got a really good
I'm
planning
with
commission.
you. I hear that loud and clear, and it's personal issues. But considering how much they get paid to be on this board, I understand life could get in the way. And that's with all of us.
But I would like to go back to my question, because I know what Jackie had told us in commissioner meetings where we didn't have a planning and zoning committee meetings, we didn't perform. And that's the question I'm trying to get the answer to, when that was.
That was the time that I believe that we had one walk in late. But I don't recall only one of them, and we solved that through the zoning rate. I don't recall two.
Yeah, I recall too. I think what we'll do, Jackie and I will go through and see if we can't, through emails or whatever, come up with it, because, you know,
Well,
that's a good question.
I still think it's an issue, but it's a non-issue to me, because they do email and say why, and it's a
I
great
wanna know
board.
why.
Right.
If you're happy, I'm fine.
I'm happy.
Well, you might be, but I'm not. We've got a board that we need to do business with, and I understand when they're short. If it takes, you know, if we have 10 people and we need 4, excuse me, do we need to appoint 2 more to that board so you got another chance of getting another person there for, I mean, I'm just asking from the point of doing business.
I've been on the board, I believe, 17 years. And this is the first time this year that has happened.
And most of your board members have been there for a while.
Pat, I think, has been on the longest. I think Pat's,
He's
no,
been there.
I'm wrong. Keith has been on the longest. I think Keith has been there 20 years.
How long, Keith?
I don't know, I started when Big Bill was.
97 is when you started.
20 years then, okay.
Pat came on in 99, I believe.
98 or 99.
98 or 99, and I
That's
came on
18,
in 2001.
okay, and that would be 16.
16, Bill has been on, he came on in 2009.
So that would be 8.
Isn't that right?
Bill
was BZA.
Bill, why don't you come on?
Bill was BZA.
I was BZA since 72,
Correct.
and then jointly until sometime during the Senderhoff administration, when I went back to just straight BZA.
Skip one.
So, could I just hear
And then-
bottom line what you're
then-
proposing?
Thank you. I would like.
Excuse me, I would
oh,
like to continue with where we are this
Okay.
month, if I may, please. Okay, that's 4, and then what about the other 3 members?
Okay, we're working on it right now, about as we speak. Okay, somewhere, I saw it this morning.
Bob?
Yeah.
While he's looking, one thing about the meeting you were looking for, that we didn't have a quorum, I don't think that was the case. We had one meeting that, when a applicant comes in and they have the hearing, and we only have 4 or 5 members instead of 7 seated members, we give them the option. They can be heard by 4 or 5, or they can wait till the next month and go to 7. I think that's what happened on this one. They wanted to wait.
I was in one of the meetings past when you did that, it was upon one of the propane tanks or something, as I recall.
One thing that I think kind of relates to a question that Jay brought up, that we, and maybe Clint has an opinion on it. Our resolution says 4 is a quorum, but ever since I've been on there, we've always said that we have to have 5. Do you recall any time we've ever done it with 4? Because normally when we might only have 5, and I tell the applicants, that they're entitled to have 7. And would they be satisfied with 5 making the decision? Every time that's happened, they said they would go with a 5, but we always give them that option. So I
think it's in our, 4 seated members of a 7-member PC constitute a quorum.
I understand that, but traditionally, and I don't know whether I don't know where we did that, but we've always used 5 as long as I can recall.
But that, and we can continue with that when they agree, the applicant, the 4 or 5.
Well, I think you need to do 4 because that's what or else change your resolution.
Yeah.
One of the, I have no problem either way, but if it's gonna be 5, let's make it 5.
The difficulty is if you have 4, then you have the possibility of a tie vote. That's the problem. Okay, here we finally get it. Okay, Pat came on in 1999.
And we're only talking about seated. They were associate members before then. But all of them were associate members.
I came on I was seated in 2001, Bill in 2009, Keith in 1997, Chris Nordyke in 2007, Dale Mullen in 2013, and Patrick Lynch in 2013.
Okay, so we have 7 through 10. So we have 20, 18, 16, 10, 8. What did I write down? 13. So we do have a spread of longer-term people on the board and newer appointments on the board. It's important that the board represents the county. And this one's been there 20 years, doesn't necessarily represent the people that have moved in since 20 years. You see where I'm going? We need to have I think the boards need to reflect somewhat the population of the county. So we have a couple on here that have been newly appointed, and I'm fine with that. They're new appointments to the board. You see where I'm coming from, Vic, as a community, as an inclusion?
Are you talking about dealing with new people, or are you talking about new people on the board?
I think we need to keep a mix of people on our board so we have the institutional knowledge, but we also have an opportunity for people to become a part as they go forward. And we do have 2 that are new.
And we also try to get the demographics, representing the business people, the agricultural people, and the retired people.
No term limits?
No.
No. Every 3 years, a reappointment, but no term limits.
But if we have people here that have been here 20, 18, 16 years, the demographics have changed in that period of time.
Correct, but they reflect like agricultural, business people, retired people. That's what we try to get. We try to get that type of spectrum so you have a view of what the agricultural community is going through, what the business people is going through, and what a retired person sees. We also try to get, like Bill is from Wetmore, so we try to at least try to get someone from Wetmore. And he's agricultural, and he knows every well.
Do you have anything else you'd like to ask?
I guess my original question is, what are you proposing to the board?
I'm proposing that you put Keith Hood on the planning commission. Also, that would be one motion, and put Brad Hartbauer and Rob, like you had motioned, but it didn't go anywhere, for the BZA, Rob McGillrath. I can mess up his last name.
Owner of the
Let it drop.
McElroy.
Okay, thank you. I cannot do that name. The BZA is seated members.
Who was it, Rod and the other name?
Brad Hartbauer.
Thank you.
And those are that's what we've already done.
Well, actually, we tabled all of this.
No, but I mean, as we proposed, that's what we have
That's what you
proposed.
propose.
Okay, on associate members, I would recommend Mike Shield, Lance Ingram, Skip Northcross, and that Steve,
We only had 3 associates.
it doesn't, we can get more.
I know, but I said we only had 3.
Steve Henning.
We also had Mike Carter on there, didn't we?
Yeah. and go ahead and put Steve on there.
So you have 5?
Or if you just want to do 4, that's fine. If that would be a decision up to you.
I know.
My assumption is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that in the event that you don't have seated members, the associate members then could become a voting member to fill in a blank. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how do you determine of the 4 or 5 associates, which ones will move into a blank spot?
Draw a ping pong ball.
We draw out of it, we just draw them
I'm good with that.
random
Ping pong ball.
ping pong ball. Excuse me, it's not in the resolution.
That person then would be a voting member for that particular meeting only, is that correct? Okay.
And then this is just for FYI, I marked the zoning resolution just so that you know that half of the BZA can also be on the planning commission, and the planning commission can fill in for the BZA, all the members.
Right.
On
I think I would like, then, as we have time, you to go through there and see where we might have conflicts between what we do as county policy and what's unique in here. Nothing has to be done immediately, but that way we know that we're
Sure.
clean. Would you agree with that, Counselor?
Yes.
Ron?
Yeah.
I just have another
John's
question.
gone through it 100 times.
So ideally, would you welcome 9 people versus 7 on your planning commission?
I,
think this is a chairman.
okay.
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference to me. I think we've operated well with 7, but if you would feel comfortable with 9, I have no problem with that.
I guess I'm just referencing what was discussed earlier and getting a mix of people. Because right now, I don't know that you have a mix. That's where I'm coming from. These other people that we originally recommended brought a mix to the table.
I think one of the difficulties, Donna, is that the system is set up so that people can come in as associate members, that can get familiar with the zoning resolution, how we conduct business. And we just haven't had a lot of people show up on that. And even if you look at our associate members now, Mike has been around a long time.
But this is the first year we've had extra people want to be on.
This is the first year I can remember when there's this many.
I have letters that the previous county commissioners have turned down people, saying,
No,
oh, we filled.
but we say we don't have enough people to get them on that want to serve, but if we have extra people applying, that means they've got more people that are interested in being on it.
Yeah, and I can't respond to that. I don't recall, I can recall a few times where we've had difficulty getting enough associate members. Now, maybe, I don't recall the commissioners turning down people, but that very well could have happened.
Well, maybe they didn't turn them down, maybe just didn't forward it.
That could be, yeah. But I guess my point is, we haven't had a lot of people, real new people come in, but I think it's extremely important that they serve at least 1 year as associate members, because there's a lot in here. You know, and I
think in your opinion, as I remember reading that, it suggested that they be appointed from the associate members. Isn't that the wording?
what it says, almost verbatim, is it says they should go to the associate members first if practical.
Practical.
Right.
I think you're the chairman of this committee. This is a decision that you ought to make on how you promote them. I personally would support that. And if for some reason you came and said this person, we're not doing it for whatever reason, we've given you this responsibility, I think we need to give you this authority with an oversight that we do, because that's our job. But I don't want to micromanage your office, personally.
No, that's not
I
right.
appreciate that.
Our intent is to get a mix of people there and
And
then going forward.
And if I may, I think that's what Donna was really going to. If we had 2 more people, maybe we could get someone who's been in the valley, maybe just moved here recently and said, hey, you know some things that you guys aren't thinking about that newbies don't know about? I mean, and I'm not trying to put words in her mouth, but I think that's where she was going with that.
And
So,
I appreciate that, Jay. I think that's good, and I think we're probably in a position to do that now with the associate members that Jackie has recommended. Because we've got some new people that have been recommended there.
Okay, so-
Can you keep us abreast of who's showing and who's not to your meetings? Just
Sure.
to
One thing I understand perfectly where you're coming from, but there is an awful lot in this resolution that I don't think people really appreciate how much is in here, and I know that there's been a number of it's been a long time there, but this thing is kind of a moving, it's a dynamic situation. I've been, well, I think Keith and myself and Pat, I don't know, we've been maybe through 3 revisions of the master plan at least, and 3 or 4 revisions of this resolution. And each time there's a lot of changes, and so there's a lot of collective knowledge on the board that's there now, and I understand what you're talking about, getting new people, and maybe we can do that with this when we're getting more people on the associate members, but I think we owe it to the people coming in and applying to us that we utilize the best knowledge and experience that we have. And so I think there's an argument to be made, even allowing the people to continue to work if they're willing to do that.
In light of what you just said, and I'd like to speak about Mr. Hood. And Mr. Hood, please jump in, because I don't want to say anything that is wrong. That was the real question that I had. It was brought to me, well, he's been here so many years, maybe we need new blood and that kind of thing. I just don't listen to those kind of things. I did some investigation. And what I found about Mr. Hood is, and I don't mean this derogatory in any way, I'm calling him Mr. Water Rights, okay? And I mean that in a complimentary way.
He's an authority on water.
This is a gentleman who can bring to the table some, excuse
Can you
me.
speed up a little bit? We're moving along. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to take my time because this is really important,
It is.
okay? A specific expertise that comes to the table is absolutely necessary. If we have someone who has no zoning and planning experience and comes in as an associate and we bring them along, that's fine. The decision then could be made later by you folks whether you want to put them into a full member. When you have someone with the experience and the expertise that I've learned from multiple people that Mr. Hood have, I think, I wish he was 30 years younger so he could serve longer, or he has someone he's bringing along to say, sooner or later I'm going to retire, here's what I know so we can have this expertise. So when the vote does come, I will support Mr. Hood, and the reasons are is because we need that expertise, and I think you hit it exactly on the head. I'm done now.
The reason I mention this is that our last meeting went until 3 in the afternoon. The way we've done it in the past, we rotate the questions. The commissioners keep their time to about 4 or 5 minutes of response, so they all have the time that they want. So I don't mean to insult you, sir, but that's what I'm trying to move on.
I understand what you're trying to do.
All right, let's go back to where we are. As chairman, as I've narrowed this down, and do you have either one of you or Donna back there, have Brenda back there, have the list? What we propose, the only change that you're proposing is adding Keith to the board.
Appointing Keith.
That's what I'm saying, adding Keith to the board. That's the only change that you're proposing. Okay, as chairman?
Yeah, but there's a difference because we put on Steve Henning, so that's not the only change. So you're
Right.
saying keep him on or not keep Steve
Not
on?
keep him on.
So there's a difference there. 'Cause
Okay.
we put Steve and they want Keith
Associate.
in his place.
Okay,
We would like Steve.
And that's
as
what
our
I said, but that's, actually, you didn't put him on because you didn't vote, because you postponed it.
That's what we were looking
and the
at.
thing comes down, I'm not fighting with you guys, but the thing comes down, planning and zoning is a sub-part of our county government, not an independent one. And there was a lot of kickback from you folks when we said we wanted to split the commissioners meeting and having a joint meeting with you guys to our own meetings. And I think we need to look at some of these. Now, I'm going to propose this. I'm just, as chairman, I'm using my right to say a few words. First of all, I think I have no problem at all with Keith. If I'd had Keith's letter when we went through this, it would have been an issue, okay? I reckon, I've known Keith all his life. Secondly, we have a new person that wants to be on here. If we take one off and put one on, you're still at 7. who would you suggest from the alternates that we move up to the board as a ninth member?
I suggest we keep it 7.
That's not my question. I ask you specifically, who do you suggest as an alternate we move up to the board?
Skip. Mike Shields.
Is that okay with you, Mike? Okay, if we add Keith and Mike to the board, then you're comfortable. Is that a fair statement?
That makes 8.
Well, Keith
Is already on the board.
Keith is on the board now. Well, I don't know how it goes, but are you saying,
Actually, all the appointments, I think, expire the first of the year unless they're on a 2 or 3 year term.
well, that's true, that's true. So,
We're up to 9 members now. He's saying instead of 7, do 9.
okay, and so you have Keith, that brings it back to 7, and then.
No.
Let me read what I have. Dale Mullen, Pat Bailey, Vic Barnes, Bill Donnelly, Steve Henning, Patrick Lynch, Keith Hood, Chris Nordike, and now Mike Shields. Does that bring it to 9? Yes.
That makes
There's
9.
But I would question, and I have nothing against the gentleman, I would question Steve, because Steve has not, and I've never met him. I know a little bit about him, but he has never been on served as associate member. And one of the expectations of being associate member is you have the opportunity to move from there to a seated position. And so I worry a little bit about sending the wrong message. The other thing is that this gentleman's only been in the valley about a year.
So what's wrong with new ideas? It isn't a closed
There's
club.
nothing wrong with new
I mean, you
ideas,
still
Bob.
have the majority of how you present them, and then what you present comes to us for approval or not approval.
No,
So
I
you
am-
still have those checks and balance, right?
Yeah, and I understand that. My concern is, I would imagine this gentleman has never read the resolution. He has never attended a BOCC meeting. He has never attended a PC meeting. And so that may be a difficulty, at least to begin with.
Something that's happened in our valley in the last 20 years is that we have a tremendous amount of people coming to the valley that have a lot of, I don't know what his background is, but we have a lot of them that have a lot of professional experience, and in many cases far exceed the experience of those of us that have been in the valley. They have some ideas to bring forth and so forth. So just the fact that they're not on the board, if a man's got maybe he's an attorney. It wouldn't take him very long to read through there and come to grips. But I'm not going to get down to individual argument.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that we had a man that wanted to be on the board. Now, who else do we have on that list for alternates?
For alternates, we have Lance Ingram, Skip Northcross, Mike Carter.
Okay, Lance has been here how long?
Lance is probably going on 2 years. Him and Mike, we don't keep track of it because they're
They
every
serve
year.
1 year terms, not 2 years.
No, I mean in the community.
2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Maybe 5, yeah.
5, okay.
Okay, 5.
And I think being a banker and being involved in lending and so forth, I think that brings a viewpoint to the board that sometimes can be valuable. Would you be comfortable we put Lance and Mike up?
Well, Mike has already agreed he would do that.
But we haven't done any actions yet.
No, I understand that.
I'm trying to reach where you're comfortable with who we have.
Exactly, and I think you're exactly right. With his expertise in finance, that would be good.
And then we move this other gentleman down to the alternate?
And my only question is, I think we ought to ask Lance if he would like to do that. And make sure he's in agreement. That's my only question. I think he would be a good addition. And he attends regularly, he does a good job.
And what is your feeling about increasing the size of the voting members?
I would prefer to stay at 7.
Why is that, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I just think that we've got a good mix of people now, and I'm really happy with the planning commission. They work very effectively, and we get a lot of compliments on how they do it. And sometimes you can have too many people on the board, and then that's probably not the answer. you're after, but I'm not sure that we're gonna bring in any new expertise unless I'm, you know, I understand this Mr. Henning has applied, and I also know that he was a county commissioner in Texas, and it was a county with 500,000 people, and I've talked to people who have talked to him, and he's not really sure he really wants to do it. So I think maybe we ought to talk with him first and see if he really wants to make that commitment before we make that appointment.
Can I point out one thing here? We have the other zoning resolution, 12-02, that says the planning commission has 7 members, which sort of conflicts, it does conflict with this, which says 3 to 9.
So that doesn't reflect some of the resolutions that we've already done, the other resolutions we've done that. Is
That one, for some, even though it was supposed to just address the BZA, it went ahead and addressed everything. I'm not quite sure what the purpose was. And I tried to go back and listen to the minutes, but I couldn't hear
We had
them.
a workshop, because in the zoning regs, it says that we should have rules and regulations. I probably should have yelled at that in my zoning too. So, here's the deal, when you have a meeting and you do a resolution, and we're all happy with it, Mr. Naylor was the county attorney at that time, we all had workshops and did this resolution 12-02. Then we come before the board and we never look at the heading of the resolution to see if the heading for the resolution that was prepared by the clerk was what we actually had done in the body of it. So it's my understanding that even though the heading says that, we're looking at the body of it. And the body covers the Planning Commission and the BOCC. So we're gonna resend the resolution to say that we go to 9.
I'm going to respond to that. I'm very uncomfortable moving up from 7 to 9. I think we've already addressed the discrepancies between the documents, and we're going to address that together so that they're consistent. When we have a consistent set of rules, then we can talk about if we want to change it or not. But we need to get a consistent set of rules that we're going to work from. That's my opinion. We give you the authority, you make the recommendation to us. I'm fully on board with Chairman Katnick in terms of I would like to see new blood coming in. People have been on the same commission for years and years and years and years. Where the new ideas come from, I don't know. But I'll bet you get lots of new ideas with people coming in going, hey, here's what I want. The alternates get to speak at your meetings. They're everything except raising their hand to vote. So we could put new people on there, hopefully move them up. I don't think we reinvent the wheel today because of the discrepancies that we have. I agree with Chairman Katnick in terms of I'd like to have more people on, in terms of bringing different blood in, but maybe we rotate some older off. And I don't mean older in age-wise, I mean people who've been there a long time, to get some new ideas coming in. I don't think we're there because we have regulations that are inconsistent and inappropriate. That's my opinion.
I'm going to go with the recommendation that Cliff did to us.
Agree with that.
Okay, so we are going to leave the planning and zoning as it was then, is that correct?
Correct. And add the new people.
We're not going to add anybody except to the alternates.
Add the new people in the alternates so that they gain experience.
May I make a comment, since we're still in a discussion? I did leave out one person, and I just realized it. It was Carol Custer. She had sent in a letter, and she was a county commissioner at one time, and she had attended the planning commission. So we can put her as an associate also?
I think we're fine as we are.
Can we just review for the record one more time who the associates are?
Yes.
So we have,
Go slowly.
Mike
slowly.
Shields.
Well, let's go back up to the Board of Zoning.
Okay, everyone remains in a seated position would be Pat Bailey, Vic Barnes,
Just slow down just a second.
Oh, sorry.
Pat, you have 2 years left?
Planning
I
Commission.
believe so.
Okay.
Planning
Vic
Commission,
has one, I think.
I think I'm up, I have one more year.
Okay.
Pat Bailey, Vic Barnes, Bill Donnelly.
And Bill, you have 1 year left?
I don't know.
These are-
This goes to 18.
We show you as in 118, so it'll be 1 year left. Okay?
No,
Their list is totally different than mine. But
see,
we'll get it.
this list here, Donna, shows, Bill, actually it shows
Yeah, you see,
2019 and.
January of 2019 is basically what she was saying. She was just saying December of 2018.
Well, I'm not
No.
sure how your resolution, this is what was in front of us. Dale Mullen is done in 119. I don't know if that's
What do you
January
show there?
1
It
or
says,
December
it says
31st.
2018.
For Dale,
Should be January 1st.
January
Those
1st
numbers are
of which year?
January of the year.
2019.
Would be
1/1/19.
January of 2019 that their term is up.
So that's correct.
Just skip that one.
Okay. Do you want me to go through all these on our list here for you?
I just want to make
I
sure.
just, I wonder why your list doesn't meet our list.
That I can't answer, I don't know.
I don't know either. See, that's
And
just
this is
a
a
mass
list I've
confusion.
inherited,
This is what we had on our list from last year.
yeah. It's
And
just
you didn't
in,
look at last year's list that we appointed in with the dates. You didn't check to see if they met with yours.
No, I knew they didn't match.
And why didn't you bring this to our attention?
Well, I brought it, it was just part of all the confusion. I said it when we were
Okay.
in that other meeting, I says, my list does not match your list.
Let's go on, we need to get this wrapped up.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's just start from what I have. Dale Mullen is done, should be 1/1/19. Pat Bailey,
Is that what you have?
No, we're gonna have to get together and clean all this up.
All right,
No, I think we can figure this out, Bob, because we have when they were first appointed. I think we can sit down, I know you want to get done here. If Jackie and I went through and gave you an updated list, would that help, be helpful?
and we need to have these split out, basically, 2, 2, and 3.
Okay,
Because in your record someplace,
For
you say that
rotation.
there'll be a rotation.
exactly.
Okay, so can we just take
Just-
the names
just
and
hold
make
on,
a
just-
motion?
Hold on just a minute. What I would like to do, you read who you have here on the committee, you read who we've suggested, or who we're looking at for the alternates. We'll approve those, and then we'll come back and address this at a later time, when you have a chance to get together and get the terms straightened out, rather than take up everybody's time today. That seem reasonable?
And do you still want us to look into this other meeting that we can't find any?
I think it's a moot point.
Okay,
I don't,
want to make
because
sure I don't
because
want.
you are a county committee, and we need to have information when you do it or not.
Okay, and we'll follow Donna's suggestion, we will keep track of attendance at each meeting.
okay.
And you've already told us that if there is a slacker, you're gonna figure out what's going on and if there needs to be replacement, you
Yeah,
will.
so I would-
I advocate that
Maybe,
decision.
maybe we should have a copy, I don't think we get a copy of your minutes every meeting.
They're online.
Here, I'm saying, maybe we need to have you bring us a copy of your planning and zoning
We'll
minutes
do that.
afterwards.
Okay, and I'll read the list.
Please.
Dale Mullen, Pat Bailey, Vic Barnes, Bill Donnelly, Patrick Lynch, Keith Hood, Chris Nordyke. That's the 7. Board of Zoning Adjustment, Ken Patterson Sr., Gene Canterbury, Rob, is it
McElray.
McElray, Brad Hartbauer, Lockett Pittman. Alternates to the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Adjustment, Lance Ingram, Mike Shields, Steve Henning, Mike Carter, Skip Norcross.
like Academy
Are you
Awards.
comfortable with that?
Yeah,
You're pretty comfortable with that?
I am, very much so, thank you.
I will entertain a motion. Then I want to make some comments and discussion to appoint these people to the three committees.
I'll make the motion to appoint the list that was just read by myself to come on to the various committees.
I'll second that motion.
In discussion, I want to address Keith first of all. As you understand, or maybe didn't understand, we didn't have the packet from planning and zoning until after we already had the packets of those who had applied for committees. I do apologize to you for not including you on that committee. At that time, we didn't have the documentation. That's due partially because of a variance in how planning and zoning appointments come in versus other committee appointments, and also due to the fact we have two different deadlines to submit them. So therefore, I offer you, and I welcome your attendance and your service, and I thank you for your service to planning and zoning. And with that said, I will ask if we have any more discussion.
Nope.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I would like to maybe down the road, Dick, I think maybe we need to set up a workshop so we can sit down and go through all the minute details and so we're all on the same page.
I think one of my recommendations, and it didn't really come out until the last couple of months there, is that there's some inconsistencies in Clinton pointing these out. We need to have them all in the zoning resolution. I also know that you may have another proposal before you regarding dark skies, and there may be others. I think we might be at a point where we might want to revise and have a new iteration of the zoning resolution.
And I think on the dark skies, I think we're on the same page on that.
I don't think there's any question.
So I said that we've heard the planning and zoning, if they want to do anything, that's the way I think it has to be.
Exactly.
I personally feel rather than being a member of your committee, I would like your committee to do the work that you're supposed to be doing, fix this, and then come to us with your recommendations, the pros and cons, rather than we sit down there and say, well, let's do this. I don't want to do that. That's your job.
Mr. Commissioner, that's how we always operate. That's our
It
standing
doesn't sound
procedure,
like
there's
that's
no
what we're
change.
trying to do here. So I'm just reiterating then what the procedure is.
Yeah,
And that's a great idea, because that,
I'm going to call for the question on the vote, please. All in favor, say aye.
Don't we vote it all? Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay.
thank you. Thank you
Thank you,
very
I
much.
really appreciate your,
Thank you for your
Thank
help.
you for putting up.
Thanks for the job that you
no,
did.
you did a great job, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next item of business,
Huh?
which is release agreement with the Wet Mountain Broadcast.
Okay, I gotta have my coffee now.
Counselor, have you had an opportunity to review this?
I am the one that prepared that. The original that was the agreement that was in effect, and we were just essentially taking over. I took his agreement and just reworked it. Basically, it was because of the problem trying to figure out how to bill the radio station thorough electrical usage. What Steve Chandler from Wet Mountain Broadcasting and Donna Hobby had been able to work out during 2016 is that the bill was averaging right around $250 a month. I talked to both of them and they agreed it would be easier if we'd eliminate the middleman search and rescue in this, just have us lease the tower and pay that flat amount reviewable as needed, probably on an annual basis. So that's the reason I redid this lease agreement. I was hoping Steve Chandler would be here, but he indicated that he was fine with it. I sent it to him.
Who owns the tower?
The tower is owned, it's part of the building, and it's owned by the county as far as I know. It's attached to the building and it's a fixture in the building, so it would belong to the county.
I just want to be sure it doesn't belong to search and rescue, because they've had various funds they brought in to acquire stuff.
Well, all of that was money donations they brought in, but once the building was built and anything that's a permanent fixture becomes part of the county
Okay.
property.
What's your recommendation on this?
Jay had a question.
Well, I'm asking you the question now. What's your recommendation? Do you?
My
recommend we
recommendation,
accept
that this just simplifies the procedure. It doesn't, and we still have the long-term lease agreement with Search and Rescue. We have the MOU with them for the Office of Emergency Management to operate out of that building. That's all, it's continued on without any change. I think this just makes it easier for them to bring a check each month, the way they've been doing anyway, to pay Donna.
Now recognize Mr. Prince.
Thank you. I thought I read in here, because I read this last night, that Search and Rescue actually owns the tower, and they said it was not a fixture. Did I not read that properly?
Okay, who
That is
said they
certainly
owned it?
possible. I thought I read that in here, and
Who owns? I didn't hear you, Jay.
I thought I read in here, and
Search and rescue on the
I
car.
certainly could be wrong, and I'm
Well, and that's
welcome to
possible
be
too.
corrected.
And my question to that is, if Search and Rescue owns the tower, how is the certificate of insurance being issued?
The county is insuring everything in that building, which would include the tower. Oops. I'm asking a question of Siri by mistake while I'm answering your question. And it's possible, if you can find that part again, Jay, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it says the tower does belong to Search and Rescue, but,
I thought that it did, but I may be mistaken.
and, well, it was at Search and Rescue's request, among others, that we go ahead and do it this way, so. And maybe that is what the language is, I'd have to find it in
I
here.
don't see it in there.
I apologize, folks. This is, sometimes we get down in the weeds. I apologize for making you wait. It says here on page 2, number 5, Custer County Search and Rescue shall own the tower structure defined on the premises as shown in Exhibit A.
Okay, then that's right, but
Then that's-
the bill is,
Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah.
okay, so that's, and that I stand correct, then the tower apparently belongs to Search and Rescue, but the electrical usage
The bill is our bill.
is our bill, so we're handling it that way. So it's my recommendation that we just simplify it by agreeing to the $250 a month. Donna was very appreciative of having to doing it that way.
In the past, to bring you the other two up to speed, we've tried to prorate this, we've tried to do this and do that, and it just ends up being taking a lot of time for something that should be very simple. So they're trying to get a separate meter, they was not able to have that happen. So to make a long story short, this seemed like the simplest way to charge, to get their share of electricity without having to go through a whole lot of stuff.
I'm fine with it.
So just for clarification, for me, Clint, in number 9, page 3 of this agreement, so having this certificate of insurance, it's SAR, if something would happen to that tower for bodily injury, SAR's covered?
Yes, everybody's covered by the insurance. We're requiring them to have that certificate. And our own insurance, I think, also would cover it. But I think that if it's through any negligence or anything on the part of the radio station, they're primary.
Okay.
If I may, just a moment. Donna, I apologize before I ask you this question, because it's just now come up. But the insurance on the tower at Search and Rescue building, is that insured by the county or by Search and Rescue? If you don't know, that's fine.
We own the building, so it's under our cap coverage.
We own the building even though they own the tower.
But they have an insurance for their equipment because we're not liable for something they've attached
So-
to our stuff.
So we are fully insured then.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, this time I'll entertain a motion for the antenna site lease agreement.
I'll make a motion that we approve the antenna site agreement that's dated January 31st, 2017, and effective on January 1st, 2017.
Is there a second for the motion?
I'll make a second on the motion as stated.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the antenna site lease agreement and regarding the billing of the electrical bills. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, Brenda will need to get a hold of Steve Chandler and Jerry Tracewell to come in and sign off on this then.
Okay, do we have anybody here for the Early Childhood Council?
I can get Laura. I thought Butch was supposed to be here.
Butch is out of town.
He was talking about doing it in February, first meeting in February.
Yeah.
So table.
Can we get her then? We'll complete unless we have any other business, then we can go into executive session. You agree with that?
I'm fine.
So what did we do, table?
She's gonna try to get her.
Oh, okay. She's coming.
Thank you.
I'm going to exercise my priority of chairman, if you folks don't mind, to go back under one other item under commissioner items I'd like to bring up. Do you have objection?
No problem.
Do you have objection? Hello, Laura.
Sorry, Emily, I had to stop and give somebody directions on how to find the assessor's office.
I've got a cold.
Oh, okay.
I'll shake hands with
I've been
you.
there and done that, so,
You don't want it again.
no, I'm not sure I'm really over it either.
Okay.
I want to run into somebody here. Okay, did you get all this stuff that Butch sent you?
Yes.
Okay, good, because I'm not, I mean, I know a little bit about this, but he knows more about it than I do. But, basically, we just want your, not approval, but support in doing this for this Early Childhood Council, because they haven't been able to get some grants and stuff, without this council. We had one years ago, and it kind of went by the wayside, and so, bottom line, that's what we're trying to do. He sent you guys an MOU, and I haven't seen that, so, but he did send that to you. And if you want to make changes on that, he's fine with that.
May I ask a question, please?
Sure, I'll try to answer it, like I said.
I understand, that's fine. If you don't know, that's fine.
Okay,
I understand that the early childhood development, what you're working on is a $15,000 a year grant for 3 years.
right.
What happens at the end of 3 years if the grant money doesn't come through? Does that then become an expense to the county?
No, no. As far as I know, no. I've never heard that before. It's just that the county commissioners have to be on board with this. But there's no fiscal for the county at all with this.
Okay, even at the end of 3 years when the grant runs out?
I'm pretty sure on that, but don't quote me on that because I haven't.
Fine.
Yeah, because I wasn't in on the meeting where they talked about that, but I have never heard that with the council that we have before.
Okay. And if I can continue, please. How many children, I believe it was 0 to 8?
Uh-huh.
How many children do you think this county would actually benefit from this program?
We've had discussions on that too, because we're not sure, because we have a lot of kids that aren't in school right now, like some of the Amish and stuff like that, so we're not sure on a count. That's something that we're trying to do. Gail Stolzfus was going to try to get some numbers. We did a little bit of numbers looking at how many kids are enrolled in school who are that age, and so we're still working on the numbers, but we're thinking, maybe 200.
That many?
But we're not. We're just not sure.
I understand.
Yeah.
If I can continue for a minute, Mr. Commissioner. I lost what I was going to say. I know your office is extremely busy at the moment. This would be adding another layer to it. How would you be able to handle this to incorporate into your normal duties?
Well, I don't know that I would be, I mean, we would just actually be on the committee for the council, or be on the council. Somebody from our office would be represented. We wouldn't actually be doing the day-to-day running of this.
I understand.
This is, one of the things that they want to do with this is they're trying to get a grant that would fund a part-time director for this council. And so they would be doing the burden on this. It would not be us.
I didn't see that grant in here. Is that something separate?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. That's
fine.
something that they're talking about trying to do, because in the meeting, and I really have not been in any of the meetings concerning this council. I've been in some meetings where they have talked about, Butch had talked to this person and that person, and we have talked about that it would be a good thing to try to do this. And so I wasn't really in on a lot of the meetings where we talked about that, but one of the things that we did talk about is to get this to really go, you do have to have somebody that's going to be just doing it. That would be their job, and at least part-time, because like you said, most people don't have time. We have full-time jobs, and we can't do that.
That's what I'm concerned
Yeah,
about.
and so that was the thought process, that they're going to try to write a grant, and from that would fund the part-time position to get this thing up and going.
Okay, so my last question before I relinquish the floor, if I may.
Okay. Got more than I did here.
All as the commissioners, the way I understand this grant, you just need a concurrence that the commissioners favor the way I read this.
Right.
All we do is say, yes, we think this is a good idea.
Right.
And then your organization moves forward, would make the grant, hopefully get the $15,000
Right.
for 3 years. And in a separate grant, you'd have an individual who would be responsible for it?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so to the best of your knowledge, at this moment, there's really no financial,
There's no financial
okay.
thing at all for the county
I
commission.
would like to call your
Thank you.
attention to the last page.
Yeah, that's
Launching a
where,
new early childhood counsel's new undertaking requiring commitment from a number of governmental agencies and nonprofits. The key step is to secure a convening entity. We would like the commissioner to give us a non-binding authorization to approach several local organizations that might act as the convening entity. The commissioners would have the final approval of the convening entity, which means it is a commissioner responsibility. It's not a separate group.
I understand.
Does that make sense to you?
I understand. But the way this was written, I wanted to confirm that the financial commitment
yeah,
and what you're seeking from the commissioners at this time is just we concur that this is a good concept. We would support it based upon decisions that
Right.
may come to us later, so that you can move forward on your recommendations to get the grant.
Right.
Is that basically correct?
that's it in a nutshell, and we want that so that we don't, because we have to have the commissioner's approval to do this, or we won't get it won't happen.
Right.
And so, but we don't want to go ahead and do all of this stuff if we don't have your approval, because then we wasted everybody's time.
Correct.
And so that's what we're just trying to do today. And we want to be able to talk to other nonprofits about becoming the fiscal agent on this, because we can't do that. And so that's part of the stuff that we want to do.
How do you propose organizing this? We do it as a county committee, as an advisory committee? What do you propose?
Well, the convening board here, it talks about who should be on this. And so we would probably convene and then probably just get back to you guys on what's going on.
But here it says we'll have the final approval. Now, are we going to have 1 year, 2 year, 3 year stagger kind of terms on this? How is this going to be set up so that we have a logical continuation for the next 3 years?
Well, I don't know, because we haven't even got that far as I know. We're just trying to get the approval to even try to get it going.
See where I'm coming from here?
Organization. I'm sorry.
I have a question. Could you tell me what Butch's involvement is?
Well, Butch, I'm on a grant committee for the Wet Mountain Hayfield, Festival Hayfield. Where I'm on that grant committee where we give out some money to help kids, and that's what it was proposed to do. Well, when we're discussing a lot of stuff, it continues to come up that these people have gone and applied for grants and they can't get it because we don't have an early childhood council. And so Butch, I don't know, he's just very concerned about that and had talked to some people and, said, yeah, if you guys could get this council going, there would be a lot more money coming in. And so he kind of took it and ran, I think.
Does it have anything to do with being on the Community Foundation board?
See, I don't know. I'm not even going to try to answer that because I really don't know.
Yeah, maybe I can help a little.
Oh, good. Who's back there? Oh, yes, Vic, you would know. Yes,
Hey! Thank you.
Vic would know. I don't.
Butch, and Laura's right, Butch is very concerned about children, and Butch and I are on the Bluegrass Festival Committee, and 2 years ago, we gave $30,000 as an advised fund to the Community Foundation, which I'm also on the Community Foundation. And so I think, and Laura, the committee that Laura's talking about is not really a Bluegrass committee, it's a foundation. Maybe Bush didn't tell you what committee you want.
No, I just can't remember the name of it because I got so many committees and stuff. I'm like,
but it's a committee of the foundation, and they make judgments on applications to the Children's Health Fund. And I think Butch sees this as a coordinator to get these people that deal with children to get them all together. That's my understanding. And Butch is also, I talked with Butch quite a bit, he's probably going to come to the foundation. My understanding is, Laura, is that there needs to be some money up front to get this started, and then once it's approved, then the state will come in and they will fund, I didn't know it was 3 years, but I thought they would fund this part-time position for $15,000 per year. Is that correct?
I'm not sure on that. I just know that there's a $15,000 startup, but I think that it comes from the state.
It's from the state.
According to this, every 3 years you have an opportunity to apply for a grant.
Oh, I see.
And in this grant would be for $45,000, which would occur $15,000 per year for 3 years.
Okay.
At least I read that in part of the body here of the agreement. So that means that 3-year time, then you got to be, geared up and running again for the next grant application period.
Exactly.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call the question on this. I'd like to call the question on this, whether we approve it or not.
We haven't made a motion yet.
That's what I'm asking you to do.
Well, I want to just call the discussion just a minute longer. A question I have here. In 2014, there are 31 early childhood councils that serve 58 counties. So we have counties, a council serving more than one county.
Yeah, we tried to piggyback onto them. If that's going to be your next question, yeah. They have talked to Chafee, they have talked to Fremont, and I'm not sure if there was somebody, Warfano.
Okay.
And all of them have said no.
Okay, that answers my question.
Yeah, and they will not let us piggyback on them.
At this time, I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion that we in spirit support this effort with the right to make further decisions down the road as this develops.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion as stated.
Are there any other discussion?
May I
would
ask
like
a
to-
question?
Yes.
He made reference to an MOU, and I don't have the MOU. Butch was talking about coming in person.
He was, and then, I don't know, he had to go to California or something.
Well, he said that he'd be available in February, and if he has an MOU that he wants you to sign.
I would like to see that.
Yes.
The other way to be approached this, I'm wondering, would be by a resolution.
And we could do it that way. I'd like to see what he wants you to.
Right, but that defines a little more than just what we said in a
We could
motion
do it as
here.
a resolution.
Did he not send the MOU?
I have, there's nothing to be signed. He sent an informational thing dated
Okay.
January 25th. And what he was asking for is just a concurrence from, and
Okay.
this, the way I read it, just a concurrence that the Board of County Commissioners supports this concept. And that's what I was trying to make a motion, that we support the concept with the right to revise it, change it, defeat it later once we get more details.
And we don't need a resolution for that.
A resolution will be fine.
But it doesn't need to be a resolution.
Well, I prefer something be in writing other than just in our minutes.
Well, then I
It
would,
leaves a better trail to go back and,
Then I
so we don't
would
get in the
need to-
planning and zoning deal.
I would need to know more about what he exactly wants before I could draft a resolution. Or if he has a resolution that some other county has done, that's always helpful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it says on the end of his letter that he sent to you guys, that's why I was asking, he says, also, we would like you to consider and revise the attached draft of the MOU. But he didn't
I
send
don't
it.
have an
I don't
MOU.
have it, and I thought maybe he just sent it directly to you guys, but you don't have it either. Okay, okay.
He never did send.
He never did-
He never sent the MOU.
Okay, all right.
Then,
Part of
Mr.
my
Chairman,
discussion, I'm reluctant to do this without knowing what the MOU is, but we can go from there.
well, Mr. Chairman, I would like to amend my motion to say that we table it until such time as Mr. Garman can come and address us with it. I think what I was trying to do is just to say that we're in favor of early childhood development, since there's no cost to us to allow your organization to move forward with it. But I concur that if we're going to do it by resolution, we need something written. Our council obviously needs more information for that, so I would like to just table my motion at this point until we get further information and an MOU can be written so we could review it and vote at that time.
Donna,
I'll agree.
all in favor of tabling this till the next, until a later date, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay,
All righty, guys. Thank you.
thank you.
That was hard, huh?
Oh, it was easy. I'll tell you hard.
Before we go into executive session, I would like to be able to go back under attorney items. We've got a situation that came up this last week that bothers me. On last week ago Monday, and Shannon helped me out here, but we had a deputy that was called to response out on Humboldt Road, which is in Centennial Ranch, right on the county line. The issue was there were some vehicles that were stuck. The subdivision, the county does not own the roads in the subdivision. They all belong to the subdivision. We sent out a motor grader. They plowed in, the deputy met the grader, they got back, got the people plowed out, and returned to service. Is that a fair summary?
Yes, sir.
Okay. On Friday, we got a call, we had an emergency request, we had some people out there that were snowed in, couldn't get out, and had to get out for dialysis. We went out there, and it turned out to be the same residents that we'd been out on Monday. So we have two responses to plow private roads for a medical emergency. The question I'm raising, I'm not sure how we address this, but there's a limit on what we can respond. I wonder if, their homeowners association does the plowing, and as commissioners and attorney, I think we need to think about this and at least address it. I'm not saying that we don't respond to emergencies, but at the same time, I went out there on, the first night I drove out and just sat on the road, and I went out there on Friday, and we had a hard time finding the residents because there's no road signs. Finally, one of the fellows that lives out there we got in contact with, and he said, well, yeah, that's it over there. I've asked, and Shannon is in concurrence with me, and so Dave Tonsing, that I think we also need to have some kind of an action that we require the subdivisions that are not county roads to have road signs in order for emergency response. They went out there looking for a fire one day, and it took them a couple hours, it took them a while to find it. We've had some ambulance calls out there, and you've had some calls, I think, that's taken a while to figure out where you are when you're responding.
We've had a few issues there, specifically in Centennial Park, but it has been some other areas as well.
Councilman, not just that area, but other areas in the county.
Yeah, there are no road signs in Centennial. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say no, but there are very few road signs in Centennial Ranch. Actually, I had a request from one of the board members from the homeowner association there at Centennial Ranch, asking for a letter to endorse, supporting having road signs put up in Centennial Ranch, and I did give them that letter, but the board almost unanimously ignored that request, and so we're still in the same position there. But we've had at least 3 emergency calls at Centennial Ranch that come to my mind immediately, where the ambulance could not find the proper road, and the deputy had to go down there and lead them in. Once the deputy figured it out as well, which fortunately no one passed away because of that delay, but it is troublesome, and that's not isolated to just Centennial Ranch. Those are just some examples.
Yes, sir.
So has zoning and planning been aware of this, and have they made any rulings on it? Have they discussed it? Does anybody know if they've been involved?
Well, once the planning and zoning plat was approved, that's the end of it.
Certainly could be.
I've visited with Jackie a little bit about it, but there is no county ordinance that says that roadways have to have road signs, and therefore.
And they're not our county roads, so we don't have any authority to put up the signs.
And when they were developed, they all did have road signs put up.
I'm sorry, sir.
Originally, all of those subdivisions had road signs put up, but over the years, they've
Taking them down.
or they've been hit, or whatever, they've disappeared and not been replaced.
And these people out here don't want road signs, they want their privacy.
We've had that problem
I've
for
got that from
decades.
visiting with landowners out there, and it's I appreciate the privacy, as you're saying.
The reason I started the GIS program here was because of that, because we had infant on the valley floor, couldn't breathe, and the ambulance couldn't find it, and those were locals. And now that they're all out of towners, it's even worse. And so we have issues with road signs.
And at this time, I just wanted to bring it up. I suggest we might want to make it a future agenda item.
Well, can I just ask? Sure. Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith, do we as a Board of County Commissioners have a right to either amend the plat or require subdivisions to put in road signs if that's a decision that's made? Do you know?
I don't know. I think I'd have to go back and look to see.
I'm almost certain that you do, sir. Through an ordinance, you can require all roadways be posted with the signs, which, if you ever consider that, I would highly recommend that we do some retro-reflective signage. Not that it necessarily has to be green, it could be brown with reflect, so that they're easy to see at night, because therein lies the problem. It's always at night when. Right.
Because in the plats, these roads are identified. They do originally had names.
And the GIS has helped us with the dispatchers being able to pull up the mapping and try to guide the ambulance or the emergency vehicles in. But
Well, obviously, this is a significant safety issue that I feel we and zoning, sheriff, and anybody else, Clint, anybody in the audience, ought to.
It's a public safety issue.
Right, we need to address it.
Well, and it's from two sides. First of all, people were responding to it. But on Monday night, it was a pretty tough ground blizzard out there. When there were places I couldn't see more than about 15 feet in front of me. So now, even though it was in a maintainer, we have a county employee out there with a piece of equipment, the extreme limited visibility, wandering around in the dark. So it's a safety issue for our people as well as the people we're responding to. So
I was just going to say, if we add a modification in our planning and zoning, would you then be able to enforce fines?
Okay, we have one comment here.
I'm just thinking of the reverse 911 and how that was handled, and that is that each and every individual person has to apply and put their number on there. And I wonder if you could just attach to that somehow, that if you want emergency services, you as an individual have to mark your home, you have to do this, you have to do that, and you sign up for emergency services. I don't know.
I don't know if the problem comes down to the basic concept of what a county commissioner's responsibility is, and one of our primary responsibilities is safety.
Absolutely.
I can see.
Okay, well, I
never mind.
think we'll move along, but we'll put this as an agenda item for our next meeting.
I agree.
Okay, thank you for your indulgence. Do we have any other than our executive session that needs to come before us at this time? If not, I will declare, or do I have a motion to recess the Board of Custer County Commissioners at 11:15?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll stand in recess. At this time, we will go into executive session. Now, how do I officially word this, Clint?
Well, there's,
Can we have 5 minutes?
Please.
You want a break?
Yeah. Before your secretary. I'm not wearing the pens.
We will take a 7 to 8 minute break. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I intended to at 10:30, but I got bogged down.
there's that language that you need to read on the,
I like that caveat on it. Yet. I like
I
that
need-
caveat, yet.
Brenda, could you make me an extra copy of that language so I put in the front of my book for executive session?
How are you, sir? Good to meet you, sir. How you know? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Is that right? Kim, years ago, huh? Yeah, yes.
Started emergency care in 1982.
Wow. Yeah, she just retired from DOC. Yeah, know them well. Know them well. We at the sheriff's conference and stuff, her and my wife, we all stuff together. Yeah, good folks. Marshall Because you started in Pueblo, right?
Started the ER and the EMS in Pueblo. I started the emergency care, freestanding ER in Custer.
Oh, okay.
So built 3 of them there and then moved to Pueblo.
Thank you, Brenda, for sending
Nice.
Yeah, so she started with a brand new concept. She was Betsy Griffin. That was a great idea.
Right.
You've been around a long time. You've been through that deal. I mean, we gotta do something.
Well, there's a fine line.
Where's that?
Back there, we tabled it.
Do what?
We tabled that agreement until we get the MOU.
No, this
No,
is
we
the
passed, I need to sign
antenna.
this.
Yeah. Where's the wording? Did Clint give you that? But I can.
It's,
Well, yeah, it's gonna be streamlined. You can cut down emergency room waiting times. People weren't gonna go to the hospitals anymore.
All that, I don't think.
that last choice or something.
That's right.
That's when you come out. That's the wording when you come out.
So
So,
anyway, but hats off to
wonder if,
everybody.
If you could just make a copy of that so I can just taste it right here, and then when I come out, I got it.
Start coming. Really busy about what you've seen.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, people were off work long enough to get drunk, if they weren't. Got it out there.
See, I'm gonna-
May I just bring up the recording, the issue with the recording? I've only missed 2 meetings since I started doing this, and both of them I went in and got the recording and wrote my article from the recording. And the first time I went in, Kelly said, I don't know that I can give it to you until after the minutes are written. Well, then she checked and found out that she could because the recording wasn't going to change no matter how the minutes changed.
All of the
So,
other commissioners, that was what they wanted. I tried to get it, they said, no, you can't get a copy of it.
may I appeal that in that? I try not to miss these meetings, but if I have to wait a month or 2 weeks to get the tape, that makes it
I think what we should do, I
impractical
think
for
we
me.
should have a specific policy on that, so we're clear that you can get them.
Well, that would be great. That would be great. I appreciate that. And as far as putting it up on the website, it's an easy thing to do.
You have a couple issues you're discussing,
Chuck shouldn't
right?
have any problem with it, and that will solve the whole
I know,
problem, because we can, as long as it's up in, within a day or two,
Definitely not this one.
It just makes it hard.
Yeah.
I think
Because
that's
some of us-
important that we do this that way. I think
As far
that's-
as I know.
I appreciate
Again,
that.
it's information.
I have a challenge for you.
Happy New Year.
Challenge for you, just
Yes,
what I
great
need.
job. How you been? You got, oh, it's been wonderful, thank you.
Mark Shanbarley.
Hey, I was wondering, let me ask you,
Yes.
is Joan,
Yes, sir.
Joan okay to be here? Sure. Perfect.
So we're going to go into executive session first, and because we got some stuff with council, and then he will excuse himself when we talk about the issue.
Okay,
And then because he can't be here as an attorney.
okay. So are we in the first part or the second part?
It's only going to take us 5 minutes in the first
Okay,
part.
all right.
So am I in the first part or the second part?
What are you here for?
Chairman? Doesn't matter.
No, what are you here for?
Personnel
The
issue.
employee issue?
Boy, that'll be the second part.
Okay. All right, so I'll step out and then I'll just,
We'll call you.
yeah, I'll just hang tight here.
Okay.
What do you expect in 20 minutes?
I would think that.
Okay.
At this time, I would like to convene the executive session.
Was there a motion before we went into, before we recessed or not?
No.
To reconvene.
No, I
I
mean,
have to
there
leave,
needs,
but I have to get
I
the
made,
motion on.
I made a, I need to reconvene the commissioners and then make a motion to go into executive session.
yes.
Okay, at this time, I will reconvene the Custer County Board of Commissioners at 11:27 a.m. And are we live?
Yeah.
Okay. I will entertain a motion at this time to go into executive session.
Which one is this for?
Executive session regarding legal issues.
Regarding legal issues?
There needs to be that form, I think you read that prior.
This one?
Well, in here it says Commissioner Bryant made the motion, seconded by Commissioner
Oh,
Bryant.
that's a different form. There's a form, and I don't have, because it was always in the folder that was given
If
me.
you've got those minutes from the 20th, there's the verbiage is in those minutes.
There was always a form in the packet that I got, now I'm getting them online
Should
instead.
be, are these the 20th ones? Yeah.
Here it is. Motion by Prince, second by going to executive, the purpose of discussing personnel matters, serious.
There's the legal advice one.
Yeah, but we have to have the motions first to go into executive. Motion by Commissioner Prince,
Brenda, do
second
you
by
still
Hood to
have
go into
the-
executive session for the purpose of obtaining legal advice.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what you want.
I was looking at that form that was in the back of the pack,
Yeah,
the one that was stapled, and do we still have one of those?
That's what this was.
Ready to entertain a motion? I got it right here.
At this
Okay,
time, I will.
that's the one.
This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I have to have the motion before I can go to this. Because this says Commissioner Bryant made a motion, and I'm asking for the motion
To
now.
go into, it's this.
Right, that's what I'm asking for now, is this motion. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make the motion to go into executive session. He's got to do the second.
Is there a second to this?
I second.
Matters were adopted and no actions or decisions were made.
And as county attorney, I will certify that the purpose of the executive session was solely for legal advice from me, and it stayed on topic, and there were no decisions made.
Thank you. What we're going to do, if you folks are comfortable, you earlier wanted to do it in a public session?
No.
No, but you had asked initially to be on the agenda
Oh, yeah.
in public session. And our attorney has advised us that that probably would be the best business session. Do you have any objections to it?
Would that mean we wouldn't meet today?
No, right now, we're gonna just continue
We
to
just
meet.
won't be in executive. The door will be
In what manner and capacity?
Well, that's what they recommended that we talk about this in an open session rather than an executive session.
I was comfortable with the executive. I've never been to one, but I'm sure comfortable with it.
Well, the open will be very similar.
Okay.
Okay.
comfortable with that?
At this time, I would like to call on Mr. Hamilton to talk about some issues you want to discuss regarding the road access across the park. And whoever wants to join in is welcome.
Okay, I have
Just informally
Marvin
come on up
Boyd
and join
and
us.
my wife Joan Hamilton. You want us standing or sitting? or
Sit,
what would
be
you
comfortable,
like?
bring a chair with you.
Okay.
We're not going to be, that chair's vacant, so just pull one of those up.
Right here by you.
Sure. First of all, I'm very grateful to be able to do this. I really appreciate it. It's my first time ever being invited. I wanted to do this. And it means a lot to me. It means a lot to, I think, everybody here. So thank you. Just giving my background. I came to Custer County about 37 years ago. And the way I got here is that I was brought in to kind of pioneer a new form of medicine, which was emergency medicine. I was brought in to teach physicians how to staff ERs and how to handle ERs. I'd done my residency, specialty training in emergency medicine and trauma. So I came from a ranching family, but when it was divided up, there was no ranch left for my father, or of course the kids. And my dad was a trucker, and that's how he made his living. So he never went back into ranching after that, although he was that's what he was born into. So I came here. I was hired by Pueblo and Southern Colorado District to form the first EMS. We had no professional paramedics. We had no professional even EMTs. We had no professional ambulances at that time. There was no air ambulance in this area. And so, because I was teaching, I was a clinical instructor at the University of Colorado, Denver General Hospital. That's where we train paramedics. So I was able to bring people up from this area and train them, get them out, and get the ambulances to professional level. So that's how I ended up here. I became kind of a mixture of agriculture and business also. We bought the ranch in Babcock's Hole. It had been run down over the years, and so we spent the first few years restoring it. I was brought up with two principles about land and ranching, and my wife's the same way. We're conserving and protecting. But the first one was the best fertilizer for a piece of land is the footprints of its owner. And the second one was a good fence makes a good neighbor. And that's kind of where we are, kind of where we're going today. It's about good fences and good neighbors. That's kind of what this issue is. We also, as we put the ranch together, what we would do is when something came up for sale, if it was developable and a large parcel, to protect it and to protect the water in the Wetmore area, we would try to purchase it. We did not need the land for ranching, but we felt it was important to try to protect it and have some control over it because of what we had seen happen elsewhere. As land was subdivided and with no thought that was done, there were no controls, and I actually observed this all my life where, trailer houses everywhere with no control, and how it ruined beautiful places. And of course, the alcohol and drug addiction was always part of the hill country and the mountains. That's nothing new, and so we specifically kept that out. And the way we do it is because when we put these ranches together, we have all these houses on, we have to rent out. So my wife screens them very, very carefully to make sure we don't get that. If we find we do have one
here in Custer County, we get them out as quickly as we can. So that's kind of where we're going. I understand from the meeting today and before that the attorney for Custer County filed to remove Custer County from this lawsuit. And there's nothing that we would like better than to get this thing ended. What we don't want to do, and why our attorney objected to it, is because we want everything finished at one time and not have this go on and on and on. Believe it or not, it's been over 20 years this issue's going on. So we'd like to, and we have every intention of compromising and coordinating or whatever it takes to get this thing done, and that's that's what our proposal is today. Any questions on my background or my life? Okay. Thanks.
I feel very comfortable with you. You have questions?
Just listening. I have not read this, and I want to listen, I'll read it.
Okay, sure. I have I'll just tell you what I think the dollar amount is to Custer County taxpayers. I think we're getting close to over $500,000 in this. When you take what the county has spent on attorneys, county commissioners, county lawyer, plus what I've been involved with, I just look at mine and I know that yours has got to be more. And our expenses, and plus the county's, I figure are probably close to $500,000. So that's kind of where I think we are. That's what we're ready. We'd sure like to get this resolved. What we've presented today, what we're presenting today, we hope it's going to be acceptable to you, reasonable to you. My wife wants to make sure that we compromise where we need to get it done. That's her big concern about me. And the first thing is the summary of request to the county. The first is the ownership of the County Road 390. That's actually been a question for many, many years of where that is exactly, and we hope to get that resolved today. And we request that Custer County retain the county ownership of the easement, County Road 390, to Mike Halpin's western property boundary. To clear the property records, Custer County Clerk and Recorder would like to see this done. The Halpins execute a quitclaim deed, transferring and granting to the county any and all interest they may have in County Road 390, and the property described in the deed, Custer County to Halpin, dated September 30th, 2010, and recorded October 15th, 2010. The other part is I want to remove all the fencing material that I've had to put up in order to use any of the land, so that it doesn't encumber my land or leave it unusable to us anymore as part of this resolution. So basically, that just means taking fences down that I built along the road on the side. That will restore our unrestricted, which we had before. We had unrestricted access, but restore the unrestricted access to our property for cattle grazing, recreation, peaceful enjoyment, and so forth. The road, as it now exists, is 16 foot wide, and we are proposing. I'm happy to keep it 16 foot wide. My own road to my home through the national forest and the county is just as the county ends, our own road is 10 feet wide. And when we remove the fence, then there's no problem with moving snow or anything, because there won't be anything to block it. They just push it up on the side, and that's perfectly fine with me. So again, I'm happy with the 16 feet. If you want to go 20 foot, we'll sure work with that. The item number 3 is the installation of cattle guards. Ideally, probably for Halpin's benefit, there'd be 3 cattle guards. What we really need to operate are 2 cattle guards. And this is the first one. This is the beginning of our property. We're on both sides of the road. Now, this little turnaround right here is actually where the county maintenance ended for many, many years. And it's only been recently that they've extended it any at all, which is about to here. But we'd like the cattle guard placed there, and we have a fence line running all over, taking all this in. The second one put here, that allows, this is tied not only to our private property, but we have 360 acres of BLM Greenwood allotment lease land. So, and this is the only source of water down here for that lease land. And that's the, again, that came with the ranch from the early 1900s when they started the BLM allotments. This is where Halpin's property is, and I thought he would probably want one there. But we didn't include that because this is just where we need them ourselves down there. Any questions about cattle guard?
So you're proposing taking out the fence on that right down to Halpin's line?
Right, this
and
fence.
And then that would end up being either a gate that he opens or a cattle guard into his property?
Right.
Okay, right.
The green is where the existing fence would come down.
Do you, by any chance, have the specifications on those cattle guards? The reason I'm asking is because Road and Bridges may have to maintain that.
I assumed that they would. When I applied before, and it was actually accepted, we were gonna put the cattle guards in, the county commissioners wanted to do it after they talked with their road and bridges. Because of the type of cattle guard they wanted in there, the maintenance of them, and liability to have it done right. So we agreed back then the county would install them. And again, I am happy to help out with that. But I do think it needs to be to the county specs for the cattle guards. Yeah.
I agree with the county specs. You're asking the county to pay for the cattle guards?
At that time, they actually had extra cattle guards, and they had them set aside for me.
I would like, we could maybe continue through this, then we'll come back and discuss the individual ones, so we have the whole picture.
All right. Any questions about what the cattle guards are doing?
I just have one, and it's with regard to taking the fence down. So if Mr. Halpin does not put a cattle guard in, that's kind of open range for your cattle now, so there would be an issue.
You just have to put a gate there. Yeah, right. Which is what we do as we enter. We've had gates.
And as you put those in, I can see potentially two, but I have a hard time with the third one. I mean, where we have you on a cross fence, we could put a cattle guard there, but I think we would, I mean, it isn't a boundary, it's an internal cross fence.
Totally agree.
But let's go on.
Yeah, okay.
You comfortable going on?
Well, yeah, you know what cattle guards do for us. They allow us to let the animals go freely across. They can access water if there's no water at the other part. And there's tons of cattle guards in Custer County, and I drive over them all the time. So, number 4, the maintenance part, and maintenance by Custer County. Yeah, this is a request, the County Road 390, from where it goes east from 391. Can you hold that up a little bit, Marvin? That's a little,
right in here.
Yeah, that little branch right there. All the way to the stop sign, which is right in here. And again, that was not part of county maintenance until recently, but if the county wants to maintain it, that would be what we propose, that they be down to there. We will provide a turnaround.
Doesn't the bus turn around there or something?
The bus turned around down here, right here. Yeah, and there's still a good turnaround there for the bus and the snowplow.
It can be done here, or you can just use the second cattle guard as a demarcation point and do a turnaround here.
we're not asking the county to do this unless you want to maintain this.
I can see down the road, I don't want to get into discussions at this point. I'm not doing what I told you. I'll hold my statement. Go on.
All right. So the responsible party, other than the county, would, the remainder road of County 390, as we've proposed, if the county wants to keep this, is this part right here would be maintained by Halpin and myself. And we have, this is our entrance right here. We have our barn here, our hay storage here. This is where one of the original homesteads was. So there's electricity there, there's plumbing there, as it is off a well. So we have a gate. Our gate, his road splits off this way and ours splits off this way. And part of the thing once this is county, if this continues to be county road, I'm assuming that can't be blocked by anybody anymore. All costs and expenses of maintaining the county road 390 from where it goes east from the stop sign. Alternatively, the second proposed cattle guard to Halpin's western property line should be shared. We suggested 50-50, but maybe just the term shared is good enough. But we're happy to do our part keeping that road clean. And if Mr. Halpin wants to pave it or gravel it or whatever, that's okay with us too. The easement language, we're requesting that the county...
One thing,
oh, sorry,
for clarity here is for snow and ice removal, this would be what's being proposed by Mr. Hamilton. If that would be Mr. Halpin's responsibility for snow and ice removal.
Thank you. We call this the benefited parcel and the burden parcel now, and these are confusing terms for me. By the way, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, so please feel free to call me on it. I'm happy to back up. The benefited parcel, Halpin, shall have unrestricted ingress and egress to their property. The benefits of such permitted uses shall be extended to and be enjoyed by the owner, the leasee of the benefited parcel, and their respective agents, employees, contractors, guests, and invitees. The burden parcel, which is me, I own it and burden with this easement, shall also have the same permitted uses and may be enjoyed by my family and my respective agents, employees, contractors, guests, and invitees. The county shall establish the County Road 390 easement for the length of the road from the point of the turnaround at the stop sign, or alternatively, the second proposed cattle guard to the Halpin's western boundary line. Again, I'm happy with the 16-foot easement. We can do everything, keep the road clear, but we would also respect the 20-foot easement if you'd rather have that. And the road as it exists right now, it's very functional with 16 feet wide. The county exists at its own expense provide a legally recordable description of the easement. The easement shall constitute a covenant running with the land and shall be binding upon the burden parcel, which is me, thereof, and any and all persons now holding or hereafter acquiring the ownership or beneficial interest therein.
Now, my thought is an easement would normally be to survey a line down the middle and say the easement exists for 20, 10, however many feet on each side of that center line.
That's what we're proposing.
Is that a reasonable?
That's what we're proposing. Center line and 8 on each side or 10 on each side, whatever you want. The easement, we did put language in, the easement may be amended, modified, terminated, or extinguished only pursuant to the written instrument by the owner of the benefited parcel and the owner of the burden parcel, and all of the first mortgagees, if any, have an interest in the benefited and the burden parcel. The reason we put that in there is because there is property It's not part of, I didn't tell you this, we put a lot of our property into conservation easements to protect it. We didn't do it when the IRS started messing around and screwing things up, so we backed off a little bit, but the majority of our property is under conservation. And so, there is a parcel back here, and I refer to it as the Howard parcel. We bought it from them, but it's not part of the conservation easement, and it has to have access to it.
And you're not contiguous to your other parcel?
It is contiguous with ours, yes, but it's not.
It's not accessible.
Right, but that's right. That's right.
What's in blue is the Halpin property. This is what's referred to, the northeast parcel in the letter. And what's in red are the parcels that Mr. Hamilton owns. This is the Howard parcel over here.
Okay, you are, when you come down here, we start over here where the road splits. Just east of 390. That road comes in and goes up. That's the road you have drawn on there is the road reflected in the top of this exhibit, right?
This one.
Yes, that's what you reflect up there.
Exactly.
Okay, and then you show the buildings we can see right, come on around if you want.
That's right, that's right.
Buildings we can see right there in the corner of that's quarter section.
Right here?
Is Halpin's residence.
That's Halpin's, and this is our barn and our corrals, all of our pork and chutes and everything for our cattle, buffalo.
Okay. So what is the yellow line that you have from the corner of that property on this upper map to your other property over there?
This is kind of the end, this is
Right
what we
there,
understood
yeah.
might be the end of the county. It's
Maybe the end of the
confusing.
county road.
Right,
Okay,
that's,
what's that yellow line there?
okay, this would be for an easement on the way back to this property, this Howard property.
That would be a future conversation between Mr. Hamilton and Mr. Halpin.
It's not in
If there's a
existence
question,
now.
I'm sorry?
It's not in existence now, that easement.
Well, there's a question about the Howard easement, but there's a question about where County Road 390 actually ends, where it ends, you know? I don't know for sure.
That's been, by the way, that was discussed back when Cleo Day was a commissioner, and they chose to keep it down there. She talked to me about it. After that, I wasn't part of any discussion, so.
I'll have to review, but I think someplace on our highway usage maps, we show it going to the corner. There are Halpin's.
Right there.
I'm not aware that it may have extended beyond, but that.
I actually saw a map where, the survey, where it went on to here, out to here. And whatever you want to do.
Because there used to be, now, do you own this land on the?
I do, yes.
So if you didn't have a right of way along there, you could come over on your land and didn't have access
Right,
with.
right. Now, we did have a right of way through here, and we lost that under, what's that?
Mr. Hamilton's request of the county, in item 1 through 5, basically ends right there. This formal request. But we haven't had the opportunity to talk to Mr. Halpin about this concept. Because I believe he wants to have access to his northeast parcel, and Mr. Hamilton wants to have access to the Howard parcel. But that would be secondary.
Without us. Without us.
Yes.
By the way, I bought this property from the Morgans, who were the original homesteaders. And the two girls were in their 90s when I bought it from them, and I actually would bring them out every summer and tell me stories, you know, about what happened out there. So it's really a neat deal to me. This is what we call our north ring, the north parcel of the ring. All right, so to clear the property records at Custer County Clerk Recorders, we would like for this to happen.
Well, let me interject. A and B really is something that we want to communicate to Mr. Halpin. It's really not part of the request of the county, but we want you to be aware of what we're going to be communicating.
This is part of the, this is from this morning. This is our property, this is where we come off, and can you show them that picture again? Anyway, part of this thing we're resolving, hopefully resolving, is that since the county deeded this to Halpin's, he's parked his tractor in front of our gate, and it's been like that for years. And despite the ruling by the Court of Appeals, it still remains there.
I think that's beyond the scope of
Okay.
what we're doing here.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, what we'd like for you to do is to, like, when we leave this, is to, somebody make a motion that we implement number 1 through 5, and hopefully that if you have anything you want me to compromise on, you'll let me know, and we can work it out. If we can today, it would be great.
I think we've got two issues here we're looking at. First of all, I'm just speaking for myself, but I think we have to have this reviewed by council before we can make any decisions or recommendations. And then secondly, as we look at the current proceedings underway, the county potentially could be dismissed. But I think also, if I'm remembering correctly, though, the road would continue as it is with to the Halpin Gate, was identified as a county road, what they originally tried to vacate. A couple other questions that I have along the same line, and this is just in a general thing. Normally in our right-of-ways, most of our county roads, the right-of-way is what's necessary to maintain the road. It doesn't spell it at a specific number of feet. If we have to have more feet, normally for a two-way road, you're going to have about a 24-foot driving surface, and then a bar pit on each, or an area along each side of it. Another thing that I'm looking at is that the retains a county road. Then that maintenance of that road is our responsibility because it's a county road. We maintain once or twice a year or whatever. I would, again, we have to go through this. I'm a little concerned that we're identifying someone that has to take specific action on a piece of county road. But those are just some general thoughts that I have. Would you like to?
I'd like to just take it under advisement. I understand where you are. After 20 years, if this drags out another month to get it done, or 2 months, I'm fine with that. I want to do it right. I want to be fair to all parties. And I want to do what's right for the constituency of Custer County. I really appreciate you coming with the, how can we resolve this issue, and here's what I'd like to do. Obviously, Mr. Halper needs to be a party to all of this because it affects him directly also, hence the lawsuit. So I would like to recommend that we take it under advisement. I'd like to talk to our council about it. We have something definitive to put our teeth into so we can start chewing on it and figure out what's right and what's wrong, and maybe it's all right. I don't know. That's my feeling.
Okay.
First, I just want to say I appreciate the time and effort in putting this together very much. And I would like to see it resolved sooner than later, but understand we do have a process to go through. So since we are going to proceed with a reply, if you just have the patience for the 30 or 60 days that it takes, it's also going to give us an opportunity to look at what cattle guards we have, what those specs are, and the maintenance. So I think we better wait a little bit and just still gather information.
This will all be discussed, and you indicated that you'd be willing to discuss the cattle guards?
Sure.
In terms of costs and shares and so
Sure.
forth. I feel very comfortable with where we, well, I mean, how do I say this and be diplomatic?
We're on the right track.
I feel we're being complimentary instead of adversarial.
Yes.
And I think that's critical for the betterment of the county. And I've wanted, since we got into this, to get to the end of it. And I assure you my position individually will be that we continue to move forward at what is a reasonable pace and get this thing done.
Sure.
I would like nothing more than be done.
Right, and if I can respond that, we have done everything we can to get this to you rather than the pass-through.
No, and I think,
And that's part of the
I
reason
view
we
this as
did.
very positive.
Okay.
Very positive.
Compliment you on doing this.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, no, we're thankful to have it in your hands, and
We're down to
that's
crossing,
enough.
dotting i's and crossing t's, I see most of this.
Yeah.
Can we leave this with you guys? I think it's helpful to visually see it.
I would appreciate if you would, or
Okay.
if there's a way, if you have a small one, that'd be fine. So that when we discuss it with council, we can look at it and visualize it and understand who has what.
Yeah, we'll leave it, let's just leave it.
Yeah,
We have other maps
if you
that
don't mind,
shows it a little better.
I would like it.
It's not intended to be
Would you like any other?
accurate, it's just a layman's
No,
guide
just,
doing it.
just to re-express all of our gratitude, I mean, who have been involved with this for all these years and all the money. We're just very grateful to have you guys here, and thank you.
Thank you.
For giving us the opportunity.
We will go through what is prudent and right,
Yeah, I know you will.
and I hope we can.
We're making America great again.
No, I see we have a party on the front and the back.
Dr. Hamilton,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
It's nice to see you again.
I'm just gonna wave.
Dr. Hamilton?
That way-
Yeah?
Are you willing to help me with something?
Good to see you again.
Oh,
Nice to meet you.
let me find out.
Thank you very much.
Well, I thank you, it's a pleasure, thank you.
Do we want to give a copy of this to the newspaper?
Oh, I always figured my jacket.
Is that?
I think it's open record, I will.
It's a public record, whatever you feel comfortable doing is your business.
Okay.
And our official position is we have it. we look
Is
at
it helpful to do that?
Well, I will request it through Cora request. If you don't, it doesn't matter to me, however you want to do
Understand, I've
it.
never been in this situation
Me
before, so
neither.
I'm learning. Okay. Yes, then I guess we can give it to you.
Thank you, I
Yes,
appreciate
I'll try to
that.
get a hold of Cindy.
Shannon just told me she has a tag for 86.
She's what?
Her tag is for 86,
Not for 84. We're
But
69.
the 86 tag is good until January 31st. It starts in September and goes through January 31st.
Right,
We're
but it's not our
69.
land.
Oh, for section 86.
Oh, I don't
All right.
know those.
Otherwise,
Okay, thank you, Rob. Thank you all.
And
Okay, Gary, thank you very much.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay,
thanks much.
thanks for your patience. Yeah, I'm sorry I had to wait so long.
No problem.
Okay. At this time, I would like to, do you need a break? Okay, at this time, I would like to, before I do that, I want to make a statement first. The response we made, Clint, was that we would take this under advisement. And that's as far as we went.
And I do want, I'm sure that the minutes will reflect I did step out during the presentation.
Would you please reflect that in the minutes? So we don't have a conflict of interest.
I have it.
because-
I have it in my notes.
That's your copy.
Okay, at this time, I would entertain, or I will declare a recess of the Board of Custer County Commissioners and will entertain a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel.
I'll make the motion to go into executive session regarding personnel issues.
I second the motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Hood, seconded by Commissioner Prince to go into executive session. I'm citing Colorado Revised Statutes 24-6-402 regarding personnel matters. At this time, I will declare the Commissioner meeting in recess and will reconvene as executive session.
Did you rule on the motion? I'm not sure. I mean, take a vote on the motion? Okay, I missed that, I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question? And I don't know the answer to this, I'm not leading in any way. When you have a personnel matter that goes into executive session, is the person that you're meeting about invited to attend, or is it?
Depends on the circumstances.
Oh, okay.
And as we go down the road, we certainly make every effort to protect the employee's rights.
I just didn't know what the
See, personnel
legalities
can be
were.
as simple as well, we're going to work on a personnel policy. What do we do with this particular
Okay.
situation?
Okay.
But
I was-
anytime we go into into an individual employment process and impacting an individual employee, we're very careful to protect all of their rights, so
Okay.
we don't violate them. And the other problem with that is if we do violate, well, then we're in violation.
Right. Okay, I just was curious because I didn't know the answer. Thank you.
Okay.
And this is one,
At 1:50 p.m. I, Robert Catney, attest that I am the chairperson of the Custer County Board of Commissioners and confirm that the discussion remained on topic, that no matters were adopted and no actions or decisions were made.
as county attorney, I'll affirm that there were no decisions made during the meeting, or the executive session, excuse me.
Okay, now we will go back, we'll reconvene the commissioner meeting on we have, and I want to ask if there's any other business at this time that needs to come before us.
Yes, there is, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that the county approves the purchase of the vehicle. What was the name of the company?
It's Bruckner Truck.
Bruckner Truck at the price that was established, and the financing will be determined at a later date. We have one option, but we're going to explore others, but the purchase of the truck shouldn't stop that.
Is there a second? Donna
I'll
seconds
second.
it. Motion is made, if I may summarize, that we go forward with the purchase of the truck pending clarification of some of the documents. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same opposed, same sign, motion carries.
One other thing I would like, I'm gonna ask the truck company to get the revised paperwork down here, and if you will authorize the chairman to sign the lease purchase agreement without further meeting of the board, then we can get that signed right away.
Do I hear a motion?
Do we need a motion for that?
I
don't think so.
It makes it cleaner.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we authorize Chairman Katnick to sign the agreements that are affiliated with the purchase of the truck after Clint Smith has approved them.
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded. Any other discussion? None, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries. Is there any other business but this time? If not, I hereby declare this meeting adjourned at 1:53.